Okay, great. So welcome everyone. You probably saw that we have a lot to cover today, and Peter's going to be joining us late because he's going to be joining us in probably at 6 o'clock because he's taking care of a last minute thing with his son, which happens to new parents. So we moved the speaker to start at 5:15 sharp. Before we do that, I just wanted to go over something because I had a student bring to my attention that they didn't realize. Does everyone know that the final pitch is on a Saturday, not a Thursday, and that it's in person?
Yes. Is it at the student union?
It's at the library in
Okay.
okay, thank you for letting me know that. It's actually in the alumni reading room. So that's the third floor of the library. And the actual pitch competition is going to begin at 1 o'clock, but we want you to obviously be there at least a half hour before so that first of all, it's just a smart idea to always do that on a big event so that if like transportation issues, if you're running late or whatever, then you can mitigate that difference. And second of all, you actually will want some time to make sure things are set up, that you're in the space because it's kind of like a performance. I'm going back to my background as a professional actor where I had to I always wanted to be in the space first. You that have some familiarity with performing, Badism, do you have that? Do you have a performance background? Because you're smiling, you like seem to know what I'm talking about.
No, but my boyfriend is an actor, so
Oh, there you go. So I was going to say you have some kind of knowledge. Yep. So exactly. So that's what it is. You like to be in the space and kind of, get some muscle familiarity with it before you go up there. And I think it's funny because I see people. It's also the other thing I wanted to mention on that is that it's good to actually practice. And we'll talk about this more on our final session, to practice like in front of someone, to physically actually get up there and just like practice instead of just like running it over in your head mentally, because it's very different when you're saying something out loud, even if you have it down, memorized, because you might get nervous and then, you might blank. And the final thing is having a bullet point cheat sheet is really nice. So instead of memorizing like everything exactly like what to say, just get the key things. And it's okay if you stumble. And that's it. So I was just doing this presentation on, interviewing and presenting yesterday in person for a class in front of like 30 students. And they were very nervous about these upcoming interviews and presentations they had. And I was trying to tell them, that you might get an adrenaline surge and kind of blank on what you're saying. But if you have that bullet point right there and you can just glance at it, then it'll help ground you. So it's always helpful to have that as well. These are just some pro tips. The final one I want to throw out there is if you're feeling that anxiety, say to yourself, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. Because it's the exact same like biochemical thing going through your body. It's just through a different filter of judgment. Instead of you thinking about, oh my God, what if I screw up? People are judging me. I'm going to get socially rejected. I'm going to get ostracized, whatever, these existential anxieties. That's kind of at the core of our fear of public speaking, that rejection from our, tribal survival and all that kind of stuff, evolutionary speaking. Instead, we can be like, I'm excited to explain something that's interesting. Is that helpful? Does that make sense?
That's a
Is
good
this
way of putting it.
inspiring?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
yeah.
So
I read that article and I keep it for myself every single time. Like I have something important. Like I'm very excited, I'm very excited, I'm very excited.
it really works. Like it sounds cheesy, it sounds stupid, but has anyone else done that? Thank you, Karen, for sharing that. Has anyone else ever done that before when you're like, you have like a really important thing and you're feeling stressed out and you're like, not nervous, I'm excited. Has anyone ever experienced that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've competed a few times with parkour professionally, and a lot of people like will watch you, and you're like, nah, it's like I'm having fun being here. Like it will be okay. Like it's gonna be fun. I'm just excited. Like I never
Nice.
thought about it in terms of like that simple, but yeah, I know the feeling.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, and so what's even if you're feeling silly and you're saying it, what actually happens, you start to like kind of look at things a little bit more playful perspective. It gives you a little bit of that objective detachment. And so it's a really nice way to mitigate that anxiety. So we have about 5 minutes before Catherine joins us. And so I just wanted to like open up the next 4 minutes before we jump in with Catherine, the guest speaker. How are things going? Where are you at? Do you have any questions, especially about the final pitch? Anything at all?
I have a question. I think it was mentioned last week, but I just want to make sure I get it right. Is there an
Yeah.
award for winning the pitch competition?
So there's not like a monetary award because we don't have the funding. I wish we did. I wish we had like, here's like, $2,000 or whatever. But what it is you do get a certificate in that, and Catherine actually was the winner of the very first Ignition Lab. So she can actually talk to you about how that actually meant something to her. And she used that when she was applying to other like, startup ventures and stuff. Like I believe she did a type of, it might have been Parsons, incubator program and stuff like that. So there you are recognized as winning it, but we don't have a, wait, what is this? Let me see what people are saying in case anyone wants to know more about. Oh, great. Thank you for sharing that. So, you don't do that, but everyone just for actually showing up and presenting also is awarded a certificate. And so it's similar to like if you went through a certificate program, like at a continuing learning, so you can actually put it on a resume that you went through this 8-month program where you learn the foundational principles of entrepreneurship. And as a career professional, I've helped people put that on their resumes and stuff like that as well. Yeah. But we did not get grant funding or anything, unfortunately. But I'm glad you cleared that up and I'm glad you asked, because that's a very legit question. Yeah.
I was curious, and it can always help with motivation.
It can always, well, I know that you're a very self-motivated person, so you already have tons of motivation, right?
I'd like to think so.
No, but you're right. It's always nice when you get cash. I agree 100%. 100%.
Yeah, who would
100%.
complain about it?
Yeah, but so the thing is, though, at this point, you finishing the program, you will then have earned the certificate of completion. And so, yeah, it's something you can put under like, I'm going into like career development mode, but it's something you can put under like education, and then like sometimes you'll do like a study abroad or something that would go in the same kind of category.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
Thank
good
you.
question. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? We have about 2 minutes.
I wanted to ask how many people from outside this group will be there? Like how many guests are going to be there on that day?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think last year there was about 20 or so in the audience, and there also will be some important people at Pratt because President Francis has showed up, Brunette, in the past, and she's a huge supporter of the program. And so I actually just sent her an invitation last Thursday. And so she's always, it was really cool. She's been to, I think she's shown up to 2 of them, and a third time, one time she couldn't do it because it was at the same time as like a parents accepted, or student accepted weekend or something. And so this like really nice, like well-dressed man was standing next to me. I had no idea who he was. And he's like, "Hey, Carl, this program is awesome." And I'm like, "Thanks, man." I just thought he was a cool guy who was like well-dressed. And he just goes, "I'm Francis's husband." And so she sent her husband to like check out the program and be supportive and stuff. So I thought that was very cool. So she might be there, and if she's there, she might like speak for 5 minutes to just talk about the importance of entrepreneurship at Pratt. And then also the vice president of student affairs, Delmy. And then as far as like other people that are there, and they're just there to be supportive, so there's nothing to get nervous about. And no one's judging anybody and being like, "Oh, you didn't say that perfect," or whatever. Like none of that's going on. It's very friendly. And then maybe there'll be about 20 or so in the audience. Like I think it's going to be mostly anyone that you want to invite, you can invite. And then also, Peter and I both teach a foundational entrepreneurship class, the ENPR 200 class. And so we're also inviting our students to attend because it's a great opportunity for them to see people in action. Yeah. So
Okay.
excellent question. How does that feel? Are you feeling nervous? You feeling good? No, you got this, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It's gonna be cool to actually see people in person too, like to physically see you all after just spending 8 months only seeing you like this. That will be very cool. Oh, and on that perfect timing, I see that Catherine has joined us. Welcome, Catherine.
Hi, how are you?
Good, it's great to see you.
Yeah, you too. Hi, everyone.
This is
Hi,
awesome.
how's it going?
I'm gonna make you co-host so that you can share your screen.
Amazing.
Let's see. Da-da. All right. Well, without further ado, so Catherine, we were just talking about the pitch competition and how it's going to be live, and how there's going to be like a live
When is it
audience.
happening?
It's happening on April 22nd. So it's when I think you're in California, right?
Yeah, I'll be in California.
Yeah.
That's exciting though.
Yeah. So how was it for you when you did? So I haven't really told them much, although I did
Yeah.
I did tease that you were the winner of the very first Ignition Lab. So that's all I've told them so far.
I was. I will tell you guys all about my journey from like where I was when I was sitting in your guys' shoes till what I'm doing now. But yeah, let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see
Mhm.
everything? Oh, let's see if it'll let me go into full screen while I'm sharing. One time I remember it didn't let me like change slides. Can you guys? Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so it will let me change slides. Can you guys see the second slide?
Yeah, intro,
yeah.
overview.
Okay, great, amazing. I'm happy that I got that fixed. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Catherine. If you want to reach me after this, please reach out. Here's my email. I am the founder of Esme. It's a seaweed-based underwear company that's good for you. This is my second company, so I will tell you all about what I went from my first company to my second company and what I'm up to now. So today we're going to talk about my first two companies, Tayo and Esme, my successes and learnings for both companies. And then I know you guys are working on your roadmap, and if you see a typo, no, you didn't. We're going to be working on how to strengthen your roadmap, your go-to-market strategy. If you see GTM, that's what go-to-market strategy is, and your funding strategy. And then at the last slide will just be like my biggest overall lessons that I kind of wish someone told me when I was in the Ignition Lab, from like a founder who's like been doing it for a second. So this is my first company, Tayo. It was a sustainable women's wear brand, and it dropped one outfit at a time. I applied to the Ignition Lab with a slightly different business model. It was going to be a marketplace where there'd be like a bunch of different brands all on one site so that you could shop like really cute, sustainable brands that align with your aesthetic, but also with your values. And at the time, that wasn't really a thing yet. The sustainable fashion was kind of like still equal to potato sack linen dresses. So this at the time was like definitely a little newer. Now, fortunately, we're seeing more sustainable brands. This is another one of our dresses. We use everything from dead stock fabric. So that's fabric left over from textile mills that would otherwise be tossed in a landfill. And that's important for a scaling issue. I'll tell you guys later. But we did a lot of like styles that we were able to do in like different colorways. based on the fabrics that we found in the dead stock warehouses. We had a lot of influencers post us, and nope. And different styles. So for my successes and learnings for this, it was cool because I had retailers reaching out, and it was not cool because I didn't really take into account that like they would want to place really big orders. So I was like, yeah, I totally have 2 mediums, 6 larges, and 0 smalls. And they were like, bye. Like I remember one retailer, he's the founder of Verishop, and it was started by a former Snapchat executive. And I was like, I just completely fell on my face. Like I was not prepared at all, just like from this scaling perspective. So that was like a really big learning. I tried to do recycled material and that didn't work out that well either, just because everything is more, it's like sustainable, but it's not, because it requires a lot of energy and water usage and all of that. So like that defeated the purpose. Because I could only use dead stock fabric, I ran into a scaling issue. And as I'm sure you guys know from running numbers now, that your profit margin gets better when you scale up. So if I can't scale up, then my profit margin doesn't get better. Another thing that's actually interesting for you guys to learn about too is your go-to-market strategy and your roadmap. Mine wasn't specific enough in the way that like, what was I going to do on month like -1 or like month 0, like right, like before I launch. Because I feel like I had a lot of stuff that I was going to be doing within the first like month or 2, but I remember the first month of launch, like I barely got any sales. Like I actually don't even think I got 1 sale, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then my marketing came to fruition, and I was able to, I was like, could breathe again. But that was something that I was like, oh, like, duh. So yeah, there's a lot of common sense things, but just because you have so many moving parts, it's kind of like hard to keep track of all of them. And so that was something that kind of like slipped through the cracks for me. I was also really emotionally attached. Like I'm sure all of you guys, because you're at Pratt, like, you know that your art is so tied to your emotions. So that's something just to keep in mind, you know, like I came out with like a few gorgeous experimental jumpsuits, and I was like, this isn't gonna like sell that well if I want to scale, and it's only going to fit a certain body type or that sort of thing. Or if I were to do it size inclusive, I would need to change all of the like patterns so that it would lay nicely on a different body type, and then that costs a lot of money, yada yada. So there was just a lot of stuff that I didn't realize as far as like emotions go. But I did get stocked in over 15 stores. I had a lot more interest than that, but I couldn't fulfill that. So it was cool because I had interest, but at the same time, like my sales were not amazing just because my product market fit wasn't great. So like that kind of means that my target audience wasn't really able to afford a lot of my pieces. So my price point was around $125 to $325 per item. If I was targeting someone who had just graduated college or in their late 20s, like there's not a lot of people in that age range that's going to be dropping $325 on a dress like every week or month or whatever. So it was just something that I kind of overestimated that would happen. And like I should have either lowered the price point or targeted an audience that really would be able to support the sales that I was needing. I was in a handful of press pieces, which was great. And that kind of like put me on the map as an actual like legit brand, even though it was like just me, really. Everything was made in Los Angeles, so I wasn't exactly doing all of the sewing and everything, I had a manufacturer, but it was very much just me doing it. So I ended up during the pandemic, had a lot of time to think, just like everyone else. And all the factories were shut down. And I was like, I really want to be solving these issues. And I feel like I can't do that with Tayo. And I knew that with Tayo, like that would definitely be my foot in the door. But I knew that would like lead to something even bigger. And I really wanted to find something that had like a better product market fit. And then a lot of stars aligned for Esme to happen. So that was one of them. Another star that aligned was I was starting to get a lot of yeast infections and UTIs as a woman. That's like takes over your life. Like if you have a UTI, like you can think of nothing else. And my gynecologist was like, you need to like start wearing cotton underwear when you work out and all of that. I was wearing like Parade, like plastic, like recycled nylon stuff. And I started making my own underwear out of this seaweed fabric and that I had been researching for like a year to find a regenerative material to use for Tayo that was like sustainable and scalable and all of that. And all my issues went away. So I was like, this is crazy. I couldn't find cute cotton underwear anywhere, which is why I started doing the underwear in the first place. And so anyway, I hired a business coach and I was like, pitched him hard. He like rode me hard to like make sure that I wasn't just, because I feel like a lot of people, they get scared and then they want to like pivot. But I was like, these are the reasons why I think this would be like a million times better. And at the end of our coaching call, he was like, you need to do this like right now. So I was like, oh my God. So I went through something called On Deck Founders. It was an incubator program that I highly recommend to anyone here actually to apply if you're seriously considering building or launching the thing that you're wanting to build here. I greatly expanded my network through that. I also went through Launch House. On Deck Founders had a 5% acceptance rate for my cohort and Launch House had a 7% acceptance rate, but I really think that anyone at Pratt has an insane work ethic and like could get in. So yeah, so this is my underwear company. It naturally helps yeast infections and UTIs because of its wellness properties. We launched with 2 styles, a couple of different colorways, but these are the styles. A bunch of like lifestyle shoots too. It's branded as your everyday underwear. So there is definitely like portraits of people living their life. So this is Abby. She's an Italian American. She's making homemade pasta on the weekend. Definitely want to like continue our mission of like sparking joy and having like joy and fulfillment in your everyday, given that this is branded as your everyday underwear. The reasons why people buy it is for the health benefits. It's also really cute. I came from Pratt. I graduated with a fashion design background. So everything's cute. A lot of people are buying it who have eczema actually, because it was originally developed for eczema. It's more absorbent than cotton. It's really good, like performance wise. But if we back up, like if you build a really good product, no one's going to see it if you don't market it. So like this is amazing, but like this is actually really what matters. Like obviously you need to have a really good product and like people will end up converting and buying because of this, but this is like how you're going to get people to your site. So my first KPI, which is key point indicator, that was like my North Star goal. Like, what do I want to happen in the first 6 months of launch? I wanted to launch September of 2022. I wanted to validate product market fit by like getting some good sales. I wanted to have 2 strategic partnerships. I wanted to have at least 25 creators be posting like user-generated content. I wanted to feature in Vogue. I wanted to do like selling opportunities in real life so that I could hear what other people are saying about the underwear. Like, are they asking questions? Like, is something not clear enough? Like, you will learn so much from talking to customers instead of like holding up in your room and working on something. Like, get out there, like talk to people, talk to your target customer, and see like what kind of questions they're asking, so that you are really able to like market it towards them in the way that they like understand and comprehend. And then I really wanted to get 50 reviews on my site. I know there's like a lot of e-commerce companies that I was looking at that are kind of big and like they don't have a lot of reviews. And I was like, it's not that hard. Like you just ask your customers. So we're at 41 right now, and it is a little harder than I thought, but we're almost there. We got 9 more to go. Yeah, so like just be prepared for some unexpected turbulence though, because when you plan something, COVID could happen, a family member could get sick and you have to take care of them. Like you don't know what's going to happen. So just remain flexible and go with the flow instead of saying like, we're effed. Just think like, what can I do with the situation at hand? A lot of times these like problems or obstacles that you run into are opportunities for innovation anyway. So I did not actually launch in September of 2022. I had a huge health scare. And so that was my first bump in the road map. I got severe E. coli. I was hospitalized. I couldn't stand. I couldn't take in water. I was 97 pounds. I had lost tons and tons of weight. And I was still 97 pounds by December of 2022. So July to December, I was in bed, nauseous from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and had a very small meal at the end of the day, and then woke up and did the thing all over again. I got a lot done from 4 to 8 p.m. You can get so much done from 4 to 8 p.m. You do not need to be working 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day. Like I did all of that horizontally in bed and like just told people if I wasn't feeling well, like, hey, like we need to make this an email or something. Like there are ways to get creative. And I think like in a way, Esme really saved me because it was a reason for me to get out of bed. Even if it was at 4 p.m., it was still a reason for me to get out of bed. And I really wanted to see this through. So just know that like stuff happens and it's okay. And you'll just figure out a way around it. So this is almost 6 months in now of Esme. We've got some really good, we did everything here, which is great. We got a Vogue feature. We did all of it, every single one of these. We're in 2 retailers. One of them has over 1 million site visitors a month. So really good for brand awareness. Now we're expanding all of our marketing channels. So now we're getting set up on Pinterest. We are verified as a verified merchant as of today on Pinterest, which is exciting. We're going to start getting on TikTok. We're going to start doing email marketing starting in April. Email marketing can account for up to 30% of your revenue, according to a lot of the founders that I've been talking to in this CPG space, and CPG stands for consumer product goods. So anything that's like a physical good. I want to do one more big retailer because the times are changing. So I don't know if anyone has read Let My People Go Surfing by Yvon Chouinard. He's the guy who started Patagonia, but he was saying like, actually my company is recession proof. And I was like, what? That's crazy. What do you mean? Like all companies suffer during a recession for the most part. And he was saying that like D2C, like online sessions go down. People don't buy as much when there's a recession. We may be going into a recession right now. And people actually start going into retail places more, like physical retail spaces. And they are willing to spend at a higher price point if it's really good quality and for multiple uses. So like, for example, a Patagonia jacket, you could wear on a hike, but you could also wear like on the way to the grocery store. So people are more inclined to buy if it's for multiple purposes. Esme is branded as your everyday underwear. It like lasts forever. I'm so lazy with my laundry, so like I can throw it in the wash and like it's fine, like it's all good. So that's what I'm banking on. But yeah, so I think just adding one more retail partner will just like really secure Esme, and then we'll like continue with D2C. We have some amazing guerrilla marketing campaigns coming out with like the wheat paste posters and spreading just good vibes. Our mission is to help people live a fulfilled life full of joy, and through that, like putting on underwear is like a self-care ritual, cleansing your face, like all of that stuff is a self-care ritual. So we want to make sure that our marketing campaigns are kind of in line with sparking joy, and hopefully we'll get on something like Global Positive News or like Upworthy or something like that, to kind of like get the word out more. We're also going to be launching affiliate campaigns. If you don't know what affiliate is, it's basically when a big company like Vogue is like best underwear this year, and then they list like 25 or 10 of their favorite underwear brands. When you click that, it goes to your website, so it'll go to Esme, and then you are tracked the whole time when you buy, so that if you do buy, then the publisher, so Vogue, will get a cut of that purchase. And that is a massive revenue driver for so many companies. If you are interested in setting up affiliate campaigns for your company, you can go to shareasale.com and get set up on there. We're going to have a PR company come in and help us get like traction with editors and all of that, so that when we are set up, then ShareASale will just take over. For that, it's required for you to be on ShareASale or an affiliate platform in order to get featured on a lot of these media outlets. So even if you do reach out to a journalist and you're like, hey, I have this really cool thing, if you're in the consumer product goods space or even tech, like it's your software service company, they're gonna want to see that you're on an affiliate platform. So that can be included in your go-to-market strategy and your roadmap. It doesn't have to be the first thing that you do, but it can be in the next 6 months, which is where ours was. We're also working on getting testimonials from gynecologists. We're going to be cross-collaborating with a bunch of brands. So one of them is a skincare company that does all natural stuff. Our audiences like really align beautifully. And so if you find any brand or company that has the same target audience as you, but in a different industry, so like we do underwear, but like skincare, people care about their skin if they're going to be buying Esme. So this is like a good collaboration. So we'll do a giveaway with them. We might do a soft goods collaboration with them. Another one is Sticks, which is like testing strips for like pregnancy, yeast infection, UTIs, that sort of thing. They wanted to do a vending machine where you get like free samples and you put it in like an area that like where your target audience is. So we're talking to them about that. So just kind of like different things that we're wanting to do with larger brands. And we are going to be wanting to raise in 2024. So just like maintaining the relationships that we have with angels and VCs. A lot of them I met through On Deck Founders and Launch House. So if you don't know where to start for like where do I find these people, it would be worth looking into On Deck Founders, Launch House, something to kind of just get you into that community of people who are already like in that world. Another thing on my roadmap, we want to do artist collaborations. So do you remember when I told you that problems are an opportunity for innovation? So we decided that our white underwear is not selling. Like it is just sitting there. Like it's not selling, it's just really slow compared to our other colors and styles and all of that. So we're like, okay, what can we do with this white underwear that's like sitting there anyway? And what we're going to do is like collaborate with different artists. So there's one notable artist that we're already going to be collaborating with for May. And she's going to be putting her artwork on the underwear, and we'll be selling that in a limited run. She'll get a percentage of the revenue from each sale. So it's just an opportunity for her to work on something that's like really cool for her audience, especially if someone can't afford like a $800 like painting of hers. Like you could probably afford more like something else that she makes like with the underwear. And then we want to hit 200 orders a month so that we can go to a 3PL, which is third-party logistics, which is like a fulfillment center, so that we're not needing to like touch inventory and all of that anymore. It's just like a huge time suck. And yeah, so basically your roadmap and go-to-market strategy will be based on how you want to live your life. I wish someone told me that. Like you can design your life and then decide like your company, because a lot of times if you're bootstrapped, it means that you're going to be living a certain lifestyle. If you're raising venture capital funding, it means that you're going to be living a certain lifestyle. It's going to look so different. So just know that that is the thing. I will send you questions after this. I think, yeah, after this slide, I'll tell you more about like the questions you can ask yourself to like, in order to set up how you want to like live your life, and how you can allow your company to reflect the lifestyle that you want to live. And by lifestyle, I don't even mean income. I mean, like, what do you want to spend your time doing each day? And all of that. So anyway, so my learnings for Esme, my second company, was there's a really big difference between vanity and actual traction. So for example, do you remember when I told you that I had a Vogue feature? So I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit. Vogue reaches out to people. I mean, they still have to pick you, and it's an honor and all of that to get picked. But they, in addition to getting picked, they want money from you too. So you have to pay, you have to be picked, and then you have to pay. Kind of like college, actually. Like you have to apply, and then you still have to pay. So it's kind of like, it's an honor and prestigious, but also you are paying for a spot there. And so we paid for like the tiniest, we're like this big in the whole like print magazine. But we told them, we were like, we want a freaking glowing testimonial. Like we want you to say this is the best underwear ever, so that we can like plaster that all over our website. And then we're like, okay, sounds good. So they did. Like it literally says, Esme is sure to be a favorite, da, 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 da. So like that is on our website, like our Instagram, the day it came out, I was like, as seen in Vogue, like we are milking that. And it was, I think 330 pounds, because it was British Vogue, per issue. If you want a budget for that, that's the amount. Or it might've been 440, I'll have to look, per month, and it's 3 months. So that's like a good chunk of money, but it's also a huge credibility thing. So that's something that you can weigh the pros and cons with, but that's like, and that doesn't drive a lot of revenue. It's just for credibility. So that's just one example, but yeah, like vanity is so funny. Like you can look so successful on the outside, but in reality, like you need to make sure that your sales are really good. And so you need to do that. And like a lot of times that's the non-sexy things like Google ads and sending emails and all of that. So just make sure that like you're not caught up in the vanity stuff, because you want your company to live to see another day. The same with Wolf and Badger. That's an online store. They have a store in Los Angeles, in New York, in London. We are in Wolf and Badger. Online, they have over 1 million site visitors a month. They're amazing. I think that they're awesome. However, we're just not getting a lot of sales on that platform, and they charge a membership fee. So we're actually going to be leaving the platform just because of the fact that we're losing money being there, and we don't need the credibility anymore because we have Vogue. So like in the beginning, we were willing to pay for the membership just because we wanted to have credibility. We wanted to see if we would succeed on the website. But like, honestly, Wolf and Badger is one of those sites where it's not, they're making money from the brands, and then anything extra is from the sales. And so it's just not ideal. So just like, yeah, be mindful of all of that. Expect turbulence. The health scare was really like not a fun time, but everything is doable. You just have to be flexible. I'll share like another quick story. I just want to make sure that we're not running out of time. I think we're good. Another like quick story about sunken costs fallacy. So basically, if that means if you already have spent so much time on one project and it's not working, you tend to like want to keep going because you already spent so much time doing it. But in reality, that might actually not be a good thing to do anymore. So for example, I almost fell for sunken cost fallacy because it took a year to develop our underwear. I hired someone who had experience in international production. All of our underwear is made in Portugal. I have only ever done production in Los Angeles, and I was not interested in making a rookie mistake in doing international production. I wanted someone who knew what they were doing to help me understand what the implications are for international production. This company would just really like didn't understand what we wanted, and they were quite expensive. But I thought that they would do a really good job, and I thought that that was like a fixed cost. Fixed cost is like startup cost that is a day zero cost that will never happen again. But in the beginning, in order to set things up, that was a startup fixed cost. I had spent many, many months with them and many fittings and so much money that it's embarrassing, like how much money I spent with them. And it was just not good. Like they were not understanding that we wanted to create this seaweed fabric. They kept wanting us to launch with cotton underwear when like the whole like thing was about seaweed. They were not negotiating with the factories as hard as I would have. If you guys want to strengthen your negotiation skills, I highly recommend a book called Never Split the Difference, Negotiating Like Your Life Depends on It, or something like that. It's written by an FBI agent who like is a hostage negotiator, and it's amazing. But after I fired them, I was able to talk down minimum order quantities of like thousands and thousands and thousands of units. And minimum order quantity is basically like when you go to a factory, you want to place an order, they will say, okay, but you have to order 3,000 units minimum, something like that. And so like I got the minimum order quantity down like thousands and thousands of units so that I didn't have capital tied up in inventory. Like when you're a founder and you're starting something, like you need to have as much capital available to spend for marketing and all of that. And you don't want it tied up in inventory as much as possible. So after many months, like I was like, I have to just keep going because they're my only shot, like they're my only option, all of that. And that was just not the case. Like there are other options. And I actually reached out to the algae supplier that we were using their seaweed. And I was like, do you have any other partners? Like I was told by this company that I wouldn't even be able to reach out to this algae supplier by myself because I'm so tiny and I'm pre-launched. If anyone tells you that, that is not true. Like you can reach, like this is the digital age. Like you can reach anyone and anyone will respond to you if you're persistent enough, in my opinion. So I actually like reached out to this freaking massive company and they responded. And I just sent them like a really heartfelt note. I think like if you really put like time and thought into things, then people are happy to talk to you, especially if you're just starting out. So I was able to find another person to help with international production. It was amazing. They wanted to have us produce in China, the first company. We're producing in Portugal. It was amazing. So the moral of the story, you always have options, even if you think that you don't, you do. Some successes that I had was these retail partnerships that I told you about one of them. The second one is Made Trade, and they're bringing in so many sales for us. It took us almost a year to get in because they're so particular about who they let in. And like, if you don't sell well on their site, then they will boot you off. They'll be like, hey, it's not working, like, goodbye. So, and that's how it is with a lot of places like Whole Foods, Saks Fifth Avenue. I mean, I think Saks is like done, but Whole Foods is that way too. And like Fresh Direct, if you're doing a food product. So yeah, it was constantly me being like, here's our update of where our product development is. Like, we're so excited because we hit these milestones. Like, it was very, anytime we got anything, like when I found out that we were going to be featured in Vogue, I was like, hey, we're going to be featured in Vogue. Like, I just kept sending her emails and she's like, oh my God, congratulations. Like, let me know. Like, finally, she's like, okay, let me know when you're launched and we can talk. And then that turned into, okay, I'd love to see a sample. And then that turned into, holy bleep, I love it. And then that turned into like, let's do this thing. And then that turned into like big sales for us. So yeah, I think like people say it takes a long time it takes like your whole life for you to have your overnight success or something. So like, just know that like the seeds that you plant right now, maybe it will bloom in a year. And so planting the seeds as early as you can, I think, is a great idea. Another success that we had was healthy profit margins. I'm able to scale up as much as I want, which is amazing. And then I also have a really insane network now because of the fact that like one of my huge things that I wanted to do between Tayo and Esme was like really grow my network, my business network. Like at Pratt, you have this amazing, creative, driven community of people. But I also wanted to like round that out with people who were like really good in finance, like really good at fundraising, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I have like a lot of founder friends. I was just chatting with Nadia today, who is the founder of August. She has around 4 million TikTok followers. And like just hearing the things that worked and didn't work for her company is a huge success for me because I can take those things and implement a lot of what she said into Esme. So I think that that's something that's pretty underrated. Like, you should have as many founder friends as possible. I found the PR company that we're going to be working with for affiliate through a founder friend. I co-hosted a VC dinner of 20 plus founders. I'm not raising, but I knew in a year from now, I will be. So like, I set that up as like a seed. So a year from now, I will know some of these VC firms that were at the dinner, and I'll be able to reach out to them and be like, hey, do you remember me? Like I gave them free underwear at the dinner, all of that. So that's something that like we have for the next part of the roadmap, which is, you know, like you should have like 1 year, 5 year, whatever. So that's like for next year. And that was kind of like the meal prep that we did for that. So I want to make sure that we have time for questions, but there's only 2 more slides. This one is just like how the things that helped me strengthen my roadmap and go-to-market strategy. I talked to a lot of people who do like our angel investors, and they say that the number one issue with people's pitches is their go-to-market strategy slide is like super lacking. Like in their opinion, it's one of the most important slides because it will tell, like I said, like you can build the most gorgeous thing, but like if you can't get people to come to your site, like if people don't know about it, like what do you do, you know? So yeah, so I would always start with what your goal in life is. Like, how do you want to spend your time? I say that because, for example, Nadia today, she was telling me that she knew from the start she wanted to raise venture capital. So that would mean that she didn't have to touch finance, inventory, that sort of thing. Like, she only wanted to, from the get-go, like, do the things that she loved, and that was it. And so she went to like venture capital firms and was like, what kind of metrics do I need to show you in order for you to back me? Like, no questions asked. And they told her a number, and she was like, okay, that would mean that I need to go viral on TikTok every single day in order to like hit that. And so she started posting 100 TikToks a day, like actually 100 TikToks a day. And she went super viral. She now has 4 million followers on TikTok. And she raised a bunch of money. She's launching in Target. She told me today. So that's like one way of going about it. For me, I really wanted to have something that I could have like prove traction in, raise a very small amount of friends and family funding first, and go slow. And like, once I see really good traction, then I'm down to scale. And that's when I want to start raising. Most people don't raise right when they launch, unless it's like a tech product and they need a lot of funding in order to like develop like coding and all of that, or like in health tech, like healthcare, that requires a lot of funding. And like, you'll see a lot of people raising right off the bat, like pre-seed funding, because it's capital intensive. So yeah, what funding route makes most sense for you? Maybe you don't want to do the funding, like the raising route, especially because it's really hard right now to raise money. The climate is really hard. I am talking to a couple founders right now who are struggling, like they need to be raising, and it's just hard because of the economy. And a year ago, it wasn't like that. Like a year and a half ago, it was like really, really easy, pretty easy to raise. So it just kind of depends on like where we're at in the world, like how capital intensive would it take for you to like launch your MVP, your minimum viable product. Some people go on to Kickstarter. That's also a good option if you have a physical product. And that requires like 6 months of prep. You can Google, like there's companies even that will help you with guaranteeing like a very successful Kickstarter campaign. There's a lot of different ways. There's angel investing. There's friends and family around, which is what I did. And yeah, so you have some options. Just know what the implications are for each. And that's gonna really tell what your go-to-market strategy and roadmap looks like. Like if you raise VC, your numbers and your definition of traction is gonna look so different from if you're going for a friends and family round. Your scaling up strategy, like the time frame, is going to look so different. So just know that any route that you take will influence your go-to-market strategy. Where is your audience and how will you reach them? How will people discover you? That's the same thing. So just know where your audience is and include that in your go-to-market strategy. So we're doing a lot of like guerrilla marketing strategy stuff. We know exactly who our target audience is. We've surveyed them. We are targeting them on ads and all of that. So just know exactly who your audience is, and know where they hang out so that you can go to where they hang out. And then, where does your traction look like? I kind of covered that. Your traction will look like what your funding situation is going to be. So if you're scaling quickly, that's going to be reflected in your go-to-market strategy and your roadmap. And then these are, I think we're like pretty good on time. We have 15 minutes left for questions, but these are the things that I really wish that people, that I learned sooner. I think like whenever I ran into an issue when I was doing Tayo, I was like, oh my God, like my life is over kind of thing. And I would work like 12 hours a day. I wouldn't sleep. Like I remember like hand dyeing stuff at like 1 a.m. and like, I should not have been doing any of that. Like that's not something that you should do. And and you have the power to change the narrative that's in your head at all times. And so if you're starting to get overwhelmed with anything, just go for a walk, take a long shower. It's all good. Founder journeys, everyone will tell you, you will have a million ups and downs in one day. So if you allow that to take a toll on your emotions, then you will be super drained by the end of the day, and it's not worth it. So you got to become like a Zen Buddha founder. The other thing that I did when I first launched was I was like, I'm so successful. Like, here's all of the things that I did, and we're going to be amazing, and da da da. And I didn't tell anyone the things that I was struggling with. And looking back, like if I told someone like, hey, I'm having a scaling issue, I would have shaved off like 6 months of me like being like, oh shit, you know, like I think that you need to be talking to people about the things that you need, that you're trying to improve on. So like for me, I reached out, like I don't know much about Pinterest from a marketing perspective. Like I reached out to so many different communities to see what their Pinterest marketing strategy is. And if like they've seen any success. And all of these people, they're not competitors because they're in different spaces. Like one has a skincare company, one has a baby care line. Like it's not like they're doing sustainable underwear too. So just like reach out to your network if there's anything that you need help with. One thing I did do out of necessity was when I did that pitch competition with the Ignition Lab, I had severe stage fright. Like I remember during one of the sessions, like not even during the pitch competition, we had to like go up and like say a 1 minute something. I like forgot to even introduce myself. Like I was just so nervous. And I met with Carl before the pitch competition, and he coached me on so much stuff. Like I didn't know that I actually naturally talk a lot slower. I'm from California, so we talk like slower than New Yorkers a lot of the time. And he was like, you're talking pretty slow. And in my head, I thought I was talking so fast. So things like that, like I think that if you reach out for help, it will come to you. And other people will be reaching out to help from you eventually. And it's something that we pay forward in the founder community. So yeah, no one does it alone. Always take time to celebrate your milestones, because as like your roadmap is amazing, you should be focusing on achieving the next thing. But if that's the only thing you're focused on, your mental health is going to be very skewed, because you're only trying to fix what's broken and you're not focusing on the celebrating the milestones. There was actually a study that was done that people will find more success actually when you celebrate your milestones, especially with friends or people who like actually care about like you succeeding, versus people who just ignore their milestones and keep going. So just take time to celebrate every milestone. Find people who are better than you in different areas, surround yourself by them. I used to tell myself I'm not an operations person, or I'm not blank savvy, or I'm only creative minded, or that sort of thing. Like, no, you go and you talk to people who are strong in operations. You understand their language. Everything is learnable. You don't have to be superb about everything, but it's good for you to know a little bit about a lot of things, so that you can be fluent in anything when you're hiring people out. You always have another option. We kind of went over that. And then also just take care of yourself, because this is a marathon. It's not like a 6-month thing, usually, or hopefully. So just make sure that you don't become burned out. And that's it. I'm open to questions. I also would love to know, like, are you guys working on, like, obviously my stuff is consumer product goods, but maybe you guys are working on something in tech. On Deck Founders has a lot of people in tech. So there's different communities for everything, but you can also learn from each other, even if you're in different industries. So I've actually learned a lot from people in the tech industry.
Catherine, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I love hearing your journey and learning new things. I just have to say real quickly that most people actually speak too quickly when they get nervous. And so that was very rare. I hadn't seen that before. I'm almost most of the time I'm like, it's okay to take a pause, and he was the opposite, which was fascinating and a good quality. You just have to, uh,
Yeah.
match
Yeah, I
it.
think I was like, oh my God, like my brain's frozen. But yeah.
It was great. So we had one question in the chat and then Finn. And so I just wanted to give thank you for your patience. Hi, Wen, did you want to kind of ask your question?
Oh yes, I just noticed the KPI lists a lot of things in various aspects, including the partners, sellings, marketing, social media, and products publishing. So I'm really wonder how to manage your time to
Yeah.
balance all the tasks.
That's a really good question. I think there's a book called The One Thing, and it focuses on it like breaks down like how you should be spending your time and how a lot of companies actually waste a lot of time doing things that won't actually help you because there's different levels of priorities, right? So I have my North Star always. So right now my North Star is get the word out. I'm not sure, but I think that Paige is here. She's an intern. I told her to come because she doesn't actually know the whole story of Esme. But like she knows like every time we meet, I'm like, okay, our KPI is like get the word out. And here are exactly the things that we're gonna do to get the word out. So like focusing on those is really important. I also use a tool called Trello. It's free. I love free things because I'm bootstrapped. So any tools that are free, utilize them. Trello is amazing. People like to use Notion too. I think Notion is also a great option. And that will keep track of each task that you have. That task can be labeled in different categories. So I have like fulfillment, I have press, PR, I have email marketing, I have all sorts of different categories. And then the task. So you label the task with the category, and then you just drag on what you're doing today. You just drag those tasks over. And so you can see every month like what you're able to accomplish, kind of like a checklist. So at the end of the month, you want to just make sure that each thing is checked off. The other thing that I think is also could be useful for you guys is something called accountability groups. Founders, they don't have people checking in on them. So it's hard to have motivation, especially on things that you're procrastinating in or you're nervous about or you don't know how to tackle. So you put it on the back burner. I'm a part of an accountability group that meets every 2 weeks. I'm actually part of 2 accountability groups that meets every 2 weeks. And we have a Google Sheet and we don't overload it with like a million tasks. We have like 3 things we want to like get done in the next 2 weeks. And usually those 3 things are bigger. They're not like menial tasks or anything. So like for like last week, it was like, okay, I've heard insane things about Pinterest. Like you could grow immensely. So my thing was like, I need to interview a bunch of different founders and see what works for Pinterest. So I think like, yeah, accountability groups plus to keep you on track for KPIs plus the logistics of Trello or Notion is a really good way of balancing your time and taking care of your KPIs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think Finn is next.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much, Catherine. First of all, I really appreciate you sharing all your like knowledge, but just expertise. I think it's really cool what you've done here. It's cool that you went to the program. That's so cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing I noticed you do really well is like your goals that you set are like very achievable, but challenging. How do you find like that overlap? Because like one thing I always struggle with, like in general, but especially with business stuff, is like setting goals that are like actually challenging, not too easy and not like absurd. you know?
Yeah, I think that you can break down every challenge into bite-sized pieces. And I think that's like the key. Like, what can you do right now in order to get to raising funding in a year? Like host a 20-person VC dinner or something like that, you know, so that like
Right.
you're not going and doing 100 cold reach outs only to get 0 people wanting a meeting with you. What can you do to sort of like meal prep all of your goals so that when you are ready to jump on raising or whatever your goal is, you have a lot of warm intros, you have bite-sized things that you have lined up in order for that to happen.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Did I say that
Oh,
right?
Yes, that's right. First of all, I just want to thank you for your presentation, and I learned a lot from you. And I also want to thank you for pursuing like your business, because like UTIs and yeast infections are a huge problem, and nowadays it's really hard to find like underwear that's actually good for you. Like I was actually like hospitalized because my UTI turned into a kidney infection. So like it's a huge problem that's like people don't really put into my
Yeah,
parents. So like, yeah, I
thank you
really
for
love what
sharing
you're
that.
doing. But yeah, I was like curious about the incubator program that you went through. Like one thing I'm really struggling with is like my ideas like for a tech startup. So I'm really struggling with how to create funding, especially since I'm doing this alone and I still need to create a team and all of that. So that's like one thing I'm really struggling with. And I read that incubator programs can actually help with funding. So I was just curious about your experience with that and how they
Yeah.
can work.
Yeah, totally. So for On Deck founders, like you have to really, it's On Deck founders in particular is like going through that is like drinking through from a garden hose, because they have so much information and so many different opportunities and so many different things going on. You can't possibly go to all of them at the same time. It's like physically impossible. So just know, like, if you do go through an incubator, know what your goals are, like write them down before you even open the portal. Like, no, okay, I want to raise this amount. I want to raise it from angels, VCs. Like, who do you want to raise from? What kind of tech startup are you going for? I'm sure you have the answer to that already, but just laying out like what kind of investor you'd want to be talking to, so that when you do go through On Deck founders or whatever it is, when you talk to people who are connected in that world, you can say, here's who I'm looking for, instead of I'm looking for investors and I have a tech startup. Like, try to get as specific as possible. But I think incubators in general are a really huge value add for people who need a network. I think that's like the biggest value add. I think that raising is difficult when you aren't in that world yet, especially as a female founder. Female founders got less than 2% of venture capital backing last year in the US. Like, that's really freaking sad. So yeah, trying to find investors through network. I was in On Deck founders. I was one of the only women, one of the youngest, and one of the only consumer product good companies that got in. And I milked that. I was like, I'm a female founder. Like, you gotta take a meeting with me. So just use whatever you can to get in there, you know?
Thank you.
I love that. Any final questions? Anyone at all?
Hi, Catherine. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Peter.
Oh, hi, Peter.
Hi, nice to see you. Sorry I
couldn't
joined
see
late,
you.
but everything I
You
caught
look
sounded
like you're
amazing.
incognito, you know, you're like in the dark with a hat on. and stuff.
I'm in my basement, you know. So great job. I wanted to just second your long-term, it's a marathon, don't burn yourself out. That's such a tough one, especially when you start up, because you're like, I can work forever. And then you have to be like, how do I not work forever?
Yeah, honestly, like the best ideas come when you are not in front of your computer sometimes, like when you're on a walk, when you're brainstorming with another founder. Like on Monday, I have a call with a founder, a former co-founder who left their company and is starting something else. And she needs brainstorm power. So like if you start getting stuck or you feel burned out, like go brainstorm with someone else who has a fresh perspective. Go on a walk, take a long shower, like, and yeah, I think Peter, I feel like you've probably seen it too with people who you've worked with. Like you can get burned out really easily if you're doing like 12-hour days every day.
Yeah, I mean, it never ends, so you have to put guardrails in for yourself.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I can see all of you guys. Thank you for having me. I don't know if there's any other questions. I know we're at time, but I thank you for having me. And if you do have any other additional questions, please email me. My email, I'll put it in the chat so that.
Catherine, thank you so much. Like, this is incredible, and I learned a lot. Like, I know your story, you presented last year, but just so much has happened even since then. It's super inspiring, and I just really appreciate just how positive and above all, how generous and supportive you are. Like, thank you so much.
Thank
really.
you. Awesome. Well, I hope to watch the pitch competition if it's recorded. I would love to see it. And good luck, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. Bye.
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 All right, Peter, it's good to see you. I'm glad you
Hey
made
guys, yeah, sorry I'm late. I had to take my son to the doctor. Being a dad sometimes has to come before everything else.
Absolutely.
We have a lot going on today, guys, because we have to present 2 homework assignments because the goal is to have you guys practice pitch next week. I'm sure Carl already said that. And for you guys to be able to do that, we have to go through the last homework assignment, which is sort of putting together your fundraising strategy, your basic financials, and how much you need to ask for. And then I want to talk to you guys about preparing a pitch deck. So if we could all start just kind of adding our order into the chat so we can start getting and going through everybody. And since it seems like we don't have a lot of people here today, it'll actually probably go pretty quickly, and then I can jump right into my presentations. So who wants to go first?
I can go first. I'm ready.
Geotag it first and then you. But
I
go
just put in the chat, guys, so we'll just go by the chat. That's the easiest of.
Yeah, it's easier for me to
Copy.
follow, and I'm also taking notes. So geotag it. Take it away. How are you?
We are good. Can you let me share my screen?
Yes. Screen security. There you go.
Okay. Here. Can you see it?
One
Can you-
second. Yep. There you go.
Yep, looks good.
Okay. So just to give a brief recap, our mission is to improve the travel routine and routine activities by providing a platform for customizable location-based triggers. And this is basically, so this is basically how we have laid it for the 18 months, and these are different steps. Like we'll start with alpha testing, then beta, then Android app launch, marketplace launch, iOS, and then a web app for creator and seller. So based on the previous feedback, we incorporated different testing stages and considered launching first on Android and then iOS. And in future, then there's AI integration. And this is basically how we've laid out our time, the version, goal, and the different features. Do you want to say?
You don't have to read them. That's great. We can read them really quickly.
Okay.
I have one question. Why is your iOS app in front of your Android app? Because I think there's more Apple in the United States. There's more Apple users currently still.
So initially when we took the interviews, it was 50-50, like from different, yeah. And in the then if we see backwards in
Also,
costing,
yeah, costing basis, Android is much cheaper to launch than iOS. So
As an investor, hearing something like that makes me think that you guys are savvy. So that's great. If you can get proof of concept on Android, we know people will use it on Apple, right?
yeah.
Will you go back one slide for me real quick? 1 month, 18-month future. Okay. Okay. Carl, you got any comments?
No, I mean, like what exactly is your MVP with this? Like, what does that look like that you can beta test without like using too much cash?
So basically, users will be able to create their own triggers and like let's say if I want to go to the grocery store, maybe 2 days, 3 days from now, I just create a trigger saying when I reach the grocery store, my grocery list should pop up. I don't need to go through my notes and stuff. So maybe
Okay.
that would be something as of a beta thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, that's
And then the KPIs are the features, I'm assuming.
KPI would be when we reach the marketplace launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any KPIs in like amount of users month over month, or like saying like we want to get 100
measurable
users?
metrics, like where you're like, I want to hit this by this day, this by that date, those kind of things. So just like it's always helpful to have those goal markers so that then you can check off, look, this is a way to affirm that I'm making progress.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Catherine said it when she was talking about celebrating those milestones. Could you put those milestones in place, and when you hit them, we have, we needed 4 million views on TikTok or 4 million followers on TikTok and 100 TikToks a day. Like those are like, those are like, you say that, you do it, you hit it, you go, we hit a milestone, and you can tell your investors, you can tell your potential investors, look at what we did. We have 500 users. They're using the app every single day. Like those are great things to help tell the story of the business.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, got it.
Really solid job. Good job, guys. Looking
Thank
good.
you.
All right, get stoked.
All right, everybody. I'm Finn with Get Stoked, the interdisciplinary extreme sports magazine. Let me share my screen here. Cool. All right. Can everybody see this? Yes, perfect. All right. So here we go with the KPIs. First off are my business goals for 2 years. You can read, but I'll just quickly go over. The main goal is to sell 2,400 issues and to release 8 editions every season. So that's over the course of 2 years, 1 a season, right? That's like 100 issues a month, relatively. And beyond that, we really want to expand into increasing the print quality and print size, as well as other things that associate the brand, like a jam, a huge event that gathers all the extreme sports athletes, and a clothing line. So in terms of timeline and KPIs, we can look at the issues being number 1. That's the highest priority. This is the date. We want to have it done by the 4th quarter of 2025, that 2-year period. Editions, working on that every quarter, as well as increasing the team of writers to source information and basically compile the guts, the real information, the things that people will be caring about faster, that would produce more information to make the magazines. Let's keep going on here to the business roadmap and the kind of timeline of this stuff, mostly focusing on the issues side of things, as well as changing the magazine quality, upping it, of course, and the marketing side of things, which still needs some development. But that is the basic roadmap.
There's one thing I think you're missing, and I think you're thinking about it in the reverse way. So you're saying we want to buy an ad in Thrasher, but I'm not saying that Thrasher's your competitor, but you guys kind of do kind of similar things. I would say there would be, if I was an investor looking at this, I would want one of your KPIs to be attracting advertisement.
Okay.
So how much advertisement dollars do you attract as the issues grow? I'm actually less worried about paper quality, and I think it's a nice goal to have.
Right.
But from an investor standpoint, if you sell 600 in a shitty paper, I know you're going to sell 1200 when it's better paper quality. But also, I don't, like that's more of an internal KP. That's more of an internal goal. That's not what I would project. My goals I project is sell issues, attract advertisers, attract content generators, and then like having that event sounds like a great KPI.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's
because
helpful.
to do an event like that, we were talking about it at the office today, Liquid Death, you love them, but you have this magazine, it's successful. You start talking to Liquid Death, you say, I want to do an event. Would you guys be interested in sponsoring it? As an investor, I say, oh my God, this magazine, they've sold 1,200 issues. They're hosting an event with Liquid Death as a sponsor. That would mean a lot to me. I'd be like, they're attracting the right people with them. I wouldn't care if you're like, our paper's a different weight now,
Yeah. I see what you mean. That definitely makes more sense. Cool. Okay, that's super helpful.
Carl?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Finn, did listening to Catherine today kind of make you think about like maybe influencers or collaborators maybe to incorporate into your KPIs? Because I'm just thinking about how you have like kind of a similar type of model in certain ways of like how you can really, it's all about networking. I was wondering what your thoughts were around that.
Yeah, definitely. Like Peter just said, right now focusing more on like attention basically would help a lot with something that's more brand focused. So definitely gonna incorporate that into the final deck.
Love it.
Cool.
Great. Thank you.
Good job.
Very, very nice. Dear creators, Battism and Mia.
Hello. Let me just screen share. Sorry, my computer froze for a second on my end. Just want to make sure you can see my screen.
We can see it. You're good.
Okay, Mia, kick it
All
off.
right. So we are Dear Creators. Our tagline is good things come to those who create. We are aiming to create a social networking platform for creatives where they can collaborate, get to know each other, and then further develop themselves and their personal brands through a platform. For our milestones, so this summer we would start with our official fundraising and working on the prototype. Following the investment, we'd be able to start developing the app. And then once we have the beta version in place, we're able to have it hit the market, have more members join. Based off of people's experiences with the platform, we'd be able to continue to make adjustments and updates and continue to expand into other creative fields as well, since at first we will be focusing mainly on the photography and production fields. And then later into the future in 2025, we'd be able to assess based off of the success as the iOS app, starting to develop it in the Android form, just because based off of our research, we have most of our users are iOS users.
Moving forward, we did mention our key performance indicators last time we met up, but as a reminder, it would be our member count, especially in the beginning, and then would roll into event tickets sold, services sold, and amount of job listings. And our beta features that we want to start off with for the beta version of the first launch that we mentioned would be a profile page, portfolio display, likes and comments, direct messaging, event creation, and event signup, since that's what our MVP was based on, purely events. And then in the updates, we would slowly start releasing the services and then job postings and then more specific social media features. And that's it.
All right, very nice. Can you guys go back to the timeline?
Mhm.
Thank you. For your final presentation, I would like to see the milestones written bigger and the dates written smaller. This is more of just like a nitpicky design thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just like if it's presented on a giant screen. I was like looking at how pretty the numbers were and I wasn't paying attention.
Makes sense.
Totally take
Um,
I literally was gonna say the same thing. It's like really, really tiny, but then it's like 12:23, and then yeah. But it's beautiful, but it's hard to read.
No, makes sense.
Thank you.
So the goal is to raise 30K by September.
Yes.
Okay. I believe that's
Okay.
doable.
Yeah, and we're also very much open to like partnership and having other people join us that have different expertise than us that could provide us with like a lot of helpful things like just like tech background, financial background, stuff like that. We'd be willing to give up stake for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also we,
What do you-
I think, are also very interested in friends and family raising in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I wouldn't really, I mean, you guys could go to Angels. We're gonna jump into a lot of that, the fundraising stuff here in a second, but the one thing I'm seeing on this, all legal documents, I would be moving that before my fundraising. And I don't know if you mean that's like if that's like how your users interact with each other in the job posting, or if that's like legal documents for the business, because you're not raising until you have until you're legally an incorporation, an S Corp, a B Corp, because I mean, it's very hard to raise as an LLC or as just like a nothing.
Yes,
two
the
people
wording
hanging
on
around.
that, the wording on that is wrong. Legal documents, we meant it as, you know, like the user agreement on the app or
Okay.
more app specific stuff, but not our business.
Like between our customers and the platform more so.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's a good one. I mean, that's, you know, as someone who's investing, I wouldn't, I mean, it's a good goal to have. And once again, it's a good internal goal, but like external average, like I would assume you're going to have those because hopefully you're not just like letting your users run amok. And those are like very boilerplate now because so many people have them. You know, I think getting like seeing the beta version, I also think like the 1224 is the big one for me, is that like between that 30K and in September of this year and the end of next year, getting that 1,000 members achieved, I would start saying, what is the value of 1,000 members? You know, what kind of money do you rate? What kind of money are you making? And if I invest my 30K, what kind of return am I seeing and when do I see it, type of thing, you know? So I'd almost want to see you guys supercharge that if you raise 30K in September, that by January of 24, you're reaching those numbers. But once again, everyone's business is different. Everyone has different goals. So I will always push you, and I'm approaching this as if I was a VC. I'm going to push you to grow as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Now, remember, if you want to grow at a slow pace, you don't want me to be the one pushing you. And that's why you don't take venture capital money, because venture capital money will lean on you, you know?
Yeah, I think really we're very community based, and we, you know, we're as much as there within business, there is a big thriving like force to like make money. That's not like our main motivator. So we definitely, yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be really important that how you frame that when you're asking for money, because if I want, if I'm investing, like what's the point of me investing? Like I may have an altruistic joy of wanting to see creatives succeed, because I do.
Yeah.
But like I'm in that sense, I invest my time more than I'm going to put my capital in. Because when I put my capital into something, because I'm not, you know, a billionaire that just is like, I got to write off some dough really quick. So when I put capital into a business, I want to see some sort of return within a time frame that makes sense to me.
Definitely.
You know,
definitely. We're just
or
really
grow to a
wanting
place
keep
where
the
it's
integrity of the brand as well is a big, like moral thing for us, and who would take our investment from as well.
And I may have mentioned this before, there's a book called Small Giants by Bo Burnham, I think. And it's a really great book. It's about companies that could have just exploded, taken VC money, but they chose to stay small because they were comfortable where they were at. So it's an important thing. You really got to know what your goals are, because when you start bringing in capital from the outside, that capital may expect you to do something else. So you have to be very upfront and forthright with what your goals are, and be like, even if we can grow rapidly, we may choose not to, you know?
I think the timing of it will be like really, really important.
Okay, cool. Very nice job.
Thank you.
Nice job. Who is
Karen?
Hello, let me share my screen. Look at that.
Great. Looks good.
Perfect. So Arthur's on here. I want to start just very short therapeutic art making and art therapy are two different stuff. One is concentrate in the making of something beautiful, more like an art class, but the experience, and art therapy is more like psychological, expressing and analyzing stuff. This is very important. So because my current mission is a virtual space, and those are the most important part, is our is a virtual space for provide owners, families, children opportunity to educate and connect with animal companions. I add the word educate because that's something that I want to do. So my KPI is, I think I got it right, is basically one of the stuff that I want to see when I'm doing my goals, and my milestone is if I get in all my session books, my client satisfaction, my outcome methods, like what is working, what is not working, and my marketing metrics, because at the beginning, something that I'm using for marketing might change. And so those are the things that I'm gonna be looking every milestone and goal. So my roadmap for 18 months, start with making it official and legal, just opening all the business, then the social media marketing. By October, I hope I can present in the ATA conference, so I can get my network of art therapies knowing, like they know more about me. Then from October to January, I'm gonna start having my first clients. This is because mostly a lot of people lose their, like start missing their pets around those holidays. So that's something for me, like give me a space to get those people, that population. By January, based on the testimony, I might do a passive income, like a book, something about it, or tools that you can use in art therapy, like combining art therapy or art therapeutic technique with pet owners. Then I hope I can partnership with others, clinic support group. This could be low budget for them, that just as an invite person who gonna do like a workshop in your group. By February, I hope I can do like an art kit, which is basically me sending you a material with instructions. And if you can, there's a video of me on demand, or I can also see you one-on-one in person. That depends on the options. By July 24, I hope I have my licensing as an art therapist, because with that, everything just completely changed and shift the whole business idea by providing counseling groups, training, and membership, changing my mission statement also for virtual private practice. And with that, I can also provide educational and getting accredited workshops. So with that, I will have more like an active income and a passive income, which is, those are my goal after 18 months or maybe 24 months, which is counseling for one-on-one family couples, workshops for clinics for mental health professional, because I come from educational background, and a passive income of just workshop, art journals, book assessment, training, and also a membership, because it's important to get my network of art therapies. And I hope that that will be all.
Okay, that's all. I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot to accomplish there. So let's start with your KPIs. So I like this. The one thing I would like to say is, like, how many sessions booked? How do you quantify that a client's satisfied? Because it's not like, I mean, maybe they do come back. You said, people have puppies and they're struggling with their puppies and they have to like make peace with them. And then like,
We do.
Go ahead,
Sorry
Carl.
to interrupt you, Peter. Just to jump in there, like, I know that sounds weird about how to quantify client satisfaction, but just working at the Career Center and overseeing, I oversee all the counselors there, and so we have to have like a survey, just to check in, like even if it's just 1 to 5. Did you get some value? It's kind of like what we gave to you even for this program. And, just that little thing, so you can say like, 20 out of 20 gave this a 5, a 5 out of 5, like for satisfaction. That's at least some empirical data that you're able to then share to demonstrate that. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's exactly, because the client satisfaction and outcome methods, like there's sort of a similarity there. And you also brought up passive income, which is the first time I think you've mentioned it in this class. And I think it's great. I mean, obviously, but like getting a book into the market and having it start generating income can take a little while because it involves its own. I mean, you could make that its own thing. It could be its own business on its own, building out a passive income structure of different types of therapy materials for pets, for like pet, dealing with pets. So like that, it almost sounds like a second business. And I love mailbox money. I love passive income. But like I would put that as one of my KPIs. Would like to start developing workshops and classes that I can sell where I don't have to run them. Like that would be a KPI that like, within 6 months, I want to have some sort of online presence where you can come to my website. If you don't want to talk to me, you can download a package. I will mail you what you need and you can watch videos and do it on your own. Like I would put that as a KPI, developing like low touch or no touch strategy for people to use what I've developed, and I think that's great. But I'd put that as a KPI. And I think that actually falls into your marketing metrics because booking your own sessions, you'll know if they're working or not because you're going to book out or you're not, so the marketing is going to show really quickly. All right, next. So yeah, same thing. Let's not call it make it official. Let's say launch business launch, social marketing, but I would say, I would want to see, your first client in July. I think you could get clients sooner. If you're running social media marketing in July, August, September, and you don't book a client until December, I would say that your social media marketing is not working. So I would say your first client should come before the ATA conference presentation.
So that milestone is actually for a full caseload. Like I specify.
Oh, okay. So
time.
be clear. Oh, I see it. Okay, yeah. Okay. Everything else looks good to me. And then the next page, I like that you have like a plan to make it a cash flow positive business quickly. As an investor, I'm not sure what I'm investing in. I mean, for this class that we're doing, in the sense of like you're building a solopreneur, lifestyle business. I love it. You probably do not need investment. You probably just need like a simple, like maybe a bank loan, maybe family cuts you a check, you pay them back after 2 years once you get everything up and running. But we are going to think about like how you position this as a pitch for like, I want you to help me get this business off the ground. So we'll think about that a little bit, Carl, any ideas on that?
I mean, you nailed it, Peter. So much of what you said. Just two things that came to mind. One is that, like Peter said, I was thinking this is such a great business and I would do this, like my pet. Like I just love this idea. I believe in it so much. I don't know if it's a money maker as an investor. So that's why I like the idea of like maybe treating the ask as what you would ask the bank loan for. You know what I mean? Maybe that's a way to treat the ask. And so that you're doing all the things you need to like, to achieve that. The other thing I wanted to say is for a soft launch is I have a friend who he's an adjunct professor and he has these like pre-recorded classes where maybe he has 2 touch points. So through the entire semester, most of it is based on pre-recorded things and stuff like that. And maybe he just has that human touch, that interaction, like, twice over Zoom over the entire semester. And it's been, great on all ends. The people that take it love it and get so much value out of it. And he's like, it's so easy now, it almost runs itself. So I'm just thinking about that kind of model would be great for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But
Yeah, very nice. Good job.
thank you.
All right, do.
Wait, did I?
Next person. I can.
Anastar? No, no,
There you go.
Anastar.
All right, do.
All right. This is good.
Yeah, we can see it.
That's
Yes,
good.
so it's very straightforward. I kind of combine the roadmap and KPI into one slide, and we focus on 3 aspects: the partnership relationship, product development, and the sales and marketing. In the product development, we will develop the MVP event almost finished, and we will publish in the Q3 this year, so we can have some income after graduation. And we will also build the education advisor team because we believe the education is a very important thing for children and parents. It needs a evaluation system for all these outdoor learning packages. And after the MVP test success, we will publish the design course for a very long-term income. All the KPIs are verified by the financial statement, making sure we are earning money. So from these, we conclude that we need to sell like 20 events this year and sell 8 events every month next year, and also have a goal of the design course run 3 times a year, the spring, summer, and the fall term, something like this. And we never forget about the promotion. We will publish our account in 3 social medias, and it has 3 different functions. One is to get the influence in public, and the other one is to publish our products and news and press about DO, and the other one is to show our process to the parents and the future customers.
Can you go back to the next KPI slide?
This one?
Yeah. You know, I like this because you figured out your break-even point to having cash flow. So, company startup, year 2, company burn rate. Yeah, you're going to be ahead for the next assignment too. Yeah, this is good. I mean, I like, you know, for your pitch deck. I've seen some pitch decks where it's like heavy on financials and models and spreadsheets, but generally I kind of just want to see it in a basic. I mean, if someone's really going to invest in you, they're going to do a deep dive into your financials. So showing it just in more of a graphic, simple element. Normally, it's either a bar chart or a graph up and to the right. We'll talk about it in a second. But and I think on your step back to the previous slide, I think this is great. I would like, you know, this one actually works really well. I mean, just as if I was reading this as an investor sitting in my office, you know, I'd be like, okay, I get it. But I would kind of maybe want to see it broken up a little bit. So like, I'm not sure how, I'm trying to think through, but I thought when you said, you know, 8 events monthly, you know, 120 events run 3, you know, that I would like to see bigger, because that tells me you have a plan to make money. You know, like you show me this, and then you say, we have 8 events per month, we hit this many total, then we're profitable. I'm like, cool, I'll invest, you know, Carl?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you hit it. When you said the 8 events and stuff, I thought you were going to follow it up with numbers. So I just was curious about that. So yeah, looks great. Looks like you've been really thoughtful and meticulous. So good work.
Thank you. We really calculate a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's gonna, your homework's gonna be a lot easier because of that.
it shows. It shows. You're, you know, very precise. It's great.
Cool. Key bear bag.
Okay, one sec, just sharing screen. Can you all see the screen?
Yeah.
Yep, looks good.
Cool. So just a brief recap. It's basically we're building a product that, you know, help people carry bags. And so fortunately, we've already secured our first round of funding of 20,000 USD. Actually, I got it from a friend of mine. I mean, a new friend of mine. But we got our funds for the production, first round for production. Then we will have our finished final design start test production by June. And then we'll send that to the disabled associates globally afterwards, 25 units. And that is because we want to promote, promote our product first as a more non-profit, like a well-being, like a, you know, health care kind of product, to kind of raise the impression a little bit. And then we'll it's like a Nike's Fly East shoes, where you know it's designed for like, you know, disabled people. But anyway, like after that we'll go for profit by September with the first round production, 1,000 units, and then we set up stores, online stores, globally, and then we'll start a second round production, 2,000 units by November, and after that we'll introduce the product to offline design stores, and we'll participate in the global design competition afterwards, and then we'll start building the whole line of the product, not just like the one product, but like the whole family of product. And then we'll be expecting more collaboration with other brands offline as well after that, by May next year. And our KPIs are to be like, first of all, to have our narrative being more convincing, is to have like 5 disabled associations approve our products. By approve meaning like we can like not commercially but like publicly say that this is a great product and it works well for a lot of people with it's like living problems, and we're like yeah, I don't know how to put that. It's
Okay.
like a
Nice
clock,
job.
but
Congratulations on raising 20K. Can we go back to your timeline?
yeah.
So the investor that gave you 20K, what does he expect?
So he expects for us to reach like this KPI. So the last thing is to reach a positive net profit by February.
Okay.
And
In a year, you have a year to sell 1,000 units.
yeah, in a year. No, like, oh yeah, in a year.
11
so
months. Yeah.
yeah, so
You gotta get
will start.
you gotta get your tech pack done. You gotta get production launched. So
Yeah.
it's finished design, final design test production June. Are you gonna have if you really are gonna if you really think you're gonna get your production done in 30 days?
Because we have already located a couple manufacturers, and they've been test producing things for us, but we haven't finalized the design.
Okay.
But as soon as we finalize the design, they can do that instantly. So
Okay. First round production. So if you produce 1,000 units in September, and then you have September to February to sell 1,000, okay. I would start setting your stores up ahead of time. I would start getting your stores set up prior to your production. I would start pre-selling. I would start you have the capital now. I would start creating your social media. I'd start doing photo shoots. I'd start a pre-sale. I'd start trying to get people to sign up. I would start submitting to global design competitions immediately. I would move that all before your first production ever touches the shores of America. I would be ready to have, if you had sold 500 before you even received it, that means you're doing your job well.
okay, cool.
So if you have from now until September to receive 1,000 units, I would be using from now until September to finish my design, get my manufacturing in place and get my production running. But I'd also be building my stores, building my marketing, building my social media, and I would have a pre-order list set up immediately.
Cool.
I'd be signing up for press. I'd be signing up for participation in global design competitions. I would not wait till I have the product in hand to do any of that. I would have that all well in advance before the product reached my shores.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just assume it's going to go well. If it doesn't, you can always make adaptations, but Peter's exactly right, and congratulations. It's really exciting.
Thank you.
And if you guys need any help with manufacturing, you know who to call.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. All right, safe space.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So just an overview. So my company would be developing an app that connects to wearable devices, which would help users basically have instant feedback and regulate their responses to their environment, specifically people with PTSD. But eventually I want to expand this to target everyone who has like issues with anxiety and other things. So currently, last semester, I developed a 20-page research proposal outlining the importance of passive sensing technologies and machine learning algorithms for PTSD research, diagnosis, and treatment. And I'm also creating a database on MySQL that will basically integrate like patient and provider data and like their interactions. And here I listed some of my long-term visions for the company. So I want this to, like, currently I'm aiming for a B2B. So like this would be utilized between patient and providers, but I do want this to be commercially launched eventually. And so this would, I also want to expand the target audience, and beyond the mobile app, I want to create like a sensory experience and utilize this for EMDR therapy. So connecting it to aromatherapy speaker system and also like a home automation system for temperature regulation during sleep. So this is a bit unrealistic, I realize, especially with like the funding and team development phase. That'll probably take a lot longer than 3 months. Since I'm starting this alone, I will definitely need to spend a lot of time networking to build my team. So I'm in like the dev program and also studying UX design. So I'll be doing a lot of like the analysis and design aspect of it. So like prototyping the app, doing analysis of like business analysis and stuff like that. But I do need developers to help with like the back end of the app development. So I do want to meet with you guys separately to talk about like the financing and fundraising for this, because it's a really difficult thing, since this is going to be like more of like a 5-year plan, since I do have to go from like testing like an initial small prototype of the app. I'm doing like an alpha test and a beta test with actual users. And then after doing this test, I'll actually have to do clinical trials to actually test its feasibility for PTSD treatment, since it'll be used by providers for their patients. So that will take a long time. I'm not sure about how long like the clinical trial will actually have to take. But I am thinking of applying to the National Center for Contemplative Health. I forgot exactly what it's called, but they do a lot of research on mind body and tech and mind body. So there's actually like research being conducted now for PTSD veterans, and they have like a whole system in place using like connecting to where like they have this app that they're utilizing for individual feedback. So I want to like kind of connect with those researchers as well.
So I would say for presenting this, at least, I mean, clearly this, you can open your roadmap up to be a few more years down. You can say, hey, we have a really big idea. We need 3.5 years, 4 years, 5 years. I would say presenting this, like, I would show this and you can expand it out, but I don't think I need all the things written under it. You can say those to me when you're presenting your pitch deck. Because I couldn't read those. I had to like lean completely in. So it's a lot of things. So for funding, you got to build something that you can raise money on. And as Catherine said, healthcare is expensive. People know that. So if you're raising for healthcare, you're going to be saying, I need to raise a bunch of dough because I got to do a bunch of testing before I can ever launch anything. Carl, you studied psychology. You want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as much as Peter by any means about the business or the fundraising, but I do know about the field. By the way, are you talking about the New York Zen Center of Contemplative Care? Is that?
No, there's like an actually like national institute. So it's like kind of like
okay, so it's not a local, it's a national. Okay, cool.
It's like a government thing.
Got it. Nice. Yeah. So what I'm thinking of in terms of this is I would want to, you probably were really inspired by Catherine's trying to pair up, right, with non-competitive people that are in the same field, right? So that you guys can work together. Did you get any ideas about who you might be able to like team up with that you wouldn't be direct competitors with?
Yeah, so there's currently research being done with veterans in Georgia Tech and Emory. So I was thinking of connecting with those researchers and maybe expanding on what they're doing now with this app. But I'm really not sure, because I've reached out to a lot of people on LinkedIn and I haven't gotten any responses. So I need to be more
That you learn also what I, is that you don't have to do everything yourself, right? And so it's like you could be the vehicle, like who's connecting different people to help make this thing work, and like finding out from other people, like, hey, what works for, so you don't have to be the one that programs this, or the, the one who does those kind of, that's what you learn, is you can connect those people around this idea. And think about complementary interests, like how it's good for them and for you. That's just how I'm thinking of building this.
Yeah, and when you're presenting it, I mean, I would just keep it as a very high level, thoughtful. This is the like focus on that 5-year mark, whatever it is. You don't have to get down to the nitty gritty and be like, I don't know how to do this. Don't say that when you're presenting, okay?
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to figure everything out, like, because sometimes that's like Steve Jobs, like he doesn't know how to code. He didn't know to, so it's that kind of idea is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Carson never driven an electric vehicle and started an electric motorcycle company. So,
really? That's awesome.
No, he'd never driven anything electric. I mean, like maybe like a golf cart, but he had no idea. He had to go learn all about how electric vehicles are manufactured, and made. So
that's a great example.
All right, Dot Design. Arisha, you there? There you are.
Okay, so just a brief so basically Dot Design Studio is an online interior design platform where you can have everything in one go. I have to say that this is not thoroughly done because I still need more time to research and find out where I can get what. So beginning with till July, it is expected to have a functional prototype. And so I am myself into UX design, so I'm expecting it to be faster. But I know I'm going to face difficulties when I have to get AI and other things involved into it. Then by August 2023, I want to have my research and the building, like what all resources I want it to be available on the platform. Luckily, coming from a construction background, we do have a lot of resources or built up in the space, so then I don't have to worry about the sourcing those resources or the construction materials. And then by 10th of 2023, I'm hoping to pitch out for partners and start pitching for partners, because it is going to be a task to find partners for a construction app, because that's not something very easy in India to get. And then by 2024, we can have the alpha version tested and the beta version tested. So alpha version, I am hoping to get it tested into a very small, close community of interior designers, and then getting the beta version to the public. And by 2024, after the trial and the updates of the feature, we are expecting to launch the beta version in the market. And by 2024, I at least aim to get 50 users in a span of 4 months, because people are going to be skeptical about trying their thoughts about having their interiors done on an online platform. That's all for me.
The only thing I would say is, can you go back? Yeah, I mean, so we were talking about this, Carl and I were talking about this in a different class about lean startup methodology and lean startup launchpad. Like, I would want you to get a functional prototype and then get 50 users, by 1023, and get those 50 users messing with it. Even if they're alpha and beta users, I wouldn't want you to build an alpha and beta just on your own and being like, it's working. I would say, get a functional prototype, get 50 users, give them the alpha, let them break it, build the beta, make the changes based on the user feedback. This is the build, test, repeat cycle that is the most important thing, especially when building things like this. There is no build it and they will come. It's build it, break it, build it, break it, and then see how much you can grow it,
Yeah.
So, Carl?
Yeah, I just wrote fail forward. It's exactly what Peter and I were talking about on Tuesday, right? So I think that's nail on the head. It's Steve Blank Lean Launchpad methodology. Check it out. But yeah, it's I'm excited to see where this goes.
My next question is, how much money do you need to raise?
No, I haven't yet. So it's supposed to be a family where
Okay, no, I mean, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Like, there should be, at some point you need to say, I need to raise X. And I don't care if it's friends and family. I don't care if it's, you know, if it's someone you just met, like, what did Key just say? My new friend gave me $20,000.
Well, the other
Here
thing
they are. I would
Hey.
still call them an investor.
The other thing I wanted to say is that a lot of you probably don't want VCs because as soon as like I just thinking about the group with the very conscious like group that you're building, because a VC will, you know, put pressure on you. It's all about profit then, and suddenly it's like you're going to constantly feel that pressure. So there is a price that you pay. You make not quite a Faustian bargain. That's a bit demonstrative, but you know, like there. You know, being a little poetic there, but you get it, right? There is like a trade-off. So you don't need to do that. It's for the sake of this class, we're asking for a pitch so that you know, that will drive you to have this compelling format. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right, I think there's still one or two students who did not sign up. Penny, I see you, and I saw someone else. You guys need to go? Anyone else? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, guys, so great job. I think your roadmaps make sense. I'm always going to be moving things around. I always think in the VC standpoint of like, how much can we push something forward and how quickly? Like my goal is to get something into my users' hands as fast as possible to see if they like it. And if they don't, I either am failing or I'm making adjustments. So like I've learned that like putting my head down and working for 3 years on something and then handing it to someone and having them be like, and not use it the way I expected, you know, I refuse to do that again. So I build and I hand it, and I'm not scared about someone stealing my ideas. I go talk to people. I was meeting last night with an expert in CPG, and I was literally running off ideas to him and just having him go, no, yes, no, yes. And he's like, how are you gonna launch this? And I'm like, I don't know, tell me, you know? And he could steal any one of these ideas. He has the capital, he has the network. So like, but I'm trying to find out whether I'm actually even in the right ballpark in my thinking before I even invest capital or time. So the next two assignments we're gonna have, the first assignment is about creating your financial, your business model and your financial projections. Now, for pre-revenue startups or pre-revenue or seed round or friends and family round startups, generally we talk about this round as like the hopes and dreams round. You have all these big ideas and you hope that they're going to work and you dream that it's going to be successful. So the couple of things that a basic for a pitch deck and a pitch format that we're doing, I don't need super in-depth financial models. You could have a second deck that is like super in-depth, laid out by an accountant, financial modeling. But I just want to see that you have an understanding of a path to profitability over time, that you're valuing your company in a way that makes sense against that path, that you're asking for an amount that actually makes sense for you to get there. Because I've seen people that are like, I'm building a robot, and I'm like, cool. And they're like, I need 5,000. I'm like, you need 500,000. And people that are like, I'm building a candle. I need 200,000. I'm like, you need 5,000 in Kickstarter. So it's like, you know, does the model of your path to profitability match the value you're applying to your company and how much you're asking to get to that value? So, you know, this is really the way most people talk about startup financials. So it's the up and to the right hockey stick growth. So everyone right now is in the tinkering phase, phase one. The next phase is what we call the blade years. These are the building years. This is where you're spending a lot of money, building your marketing, building your sales funnels, building your, testing your idea, making adjustments. And it's a time where you generally aren't going to make money. It's where you need that runway to succeed. The blade years are the years that normally can kill most businesses. And then there's the growth point. And then at the growth inflection point, that's normally when you do your Series A round, or maybe like a seed round that's a very high value. So you're asking for a lot of capital so you can grow quickly. Now, the up and to the right model is designed around growing as fast as possible, using outside capital. If you're building your own business, you could be in a blade and then a slow inflection before it starts curving up for much longer. It could be a much more gradual up and to the right. And that's perfectly fine. It's all about what your target is. As you can see, between 3 and 4, it says revenue. That means you're cash flow positive. The business can be self-sustaining. There is certain points where businesses don't need more investors, but they're only taking them to grow even faster and squash competition. So knowing what your goals are is extremely important. Establishing, what we talked about, your cost of goods or your cost of services, knowing how you're going to make money, and then when that point where you actually start becoming a self-sustaining business is a really important thing to show both to investors, to banks, to friends and family, to partners, because partners, a manufacturer doesn't want to partner with you if they think you're going to go out of business, so a really good way to look at how to value a company is at the different stages of development. So generally, most businesses that are designed to grow into that 10 to 15, $20 million range have a business idea or plan or pitch deck, and they generally fall within $100,000 to $500,000 value. And that's like where you can end up with your initial investment. You're saying, I need to raise 100,000. I value the company at $1 million because I can hit $1 million in sales in 2 years. Then the next phase is you've actually built a management team. You have a plan to execute a model. Maybe you've done some testing, and then you have a different higher valuation. A final product or technology, you actually have something you can launch and sell, it's going to work. That puts you at a different value. The next one is you've actually sort of already built your business and you need to raise $2.5, $3 million. So you're trying to do, at this point, you're trying to grow an already successful proven idea. And then the last one is, and this is definitely the venture level. Venture capital is the lowest they invest is about $1 million. And now it's actually kind of gotten even higher than that. And then they invest, up into hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. But most venture capital isn't going to write you a $50,000 check. That's friends and family, that's angel investors, super angels, and as Carl said, if you don't have to take venture capital, don't. And we'll talk about why in the next part of the conversation. So setting a value for your company is kind of difficult because you're like, how do I value a company that I have no idea how much it's going to make? So, that's sort of this, we'll talk about how to think about that. So what we talk about when we talk about company is your goal is to get to a certain market capitalization. So a value of your company within 2 to 5 years. So you're raising money against your future value. You're saying, right now we're not worth anything, but we have a plan to become worth 5 million in 3 years. So we're saying our market cap is going to be 5 million in 3 years. Do you want to invest in it now and get preferred terms? Generally, companies say we're raising $500,000 for 10% equity. And there's a lot of different types of rounds of funding. And Carl actually sent me a great video today where a guy really just kind of describes good ways of bringing in money. And then we'll share it with you guys in the homework as well. But you're going to say, you guys had a budget. You're going to say, well, our capital expenditure is 13%. Our marketing sales is going to be 33%. We have personnel we have to hire, engineers, and we have product development. So we need to borrow $500,000 from you for 10% of the company. Now, most startups raise money, there's a price round, which just means I'll give you 10% right now for $500,000. And that means that guy really trusts you're going to be worth 5 million. The most rounds work against debt to equity or safe notes, which is saying we expect our company to be worth X or raise at an X amount in the next 18 to 24 months. If you invest now, we'll give you a discount against that next raise. So that means their investment, they give you the cash. It's a convertible note that when you do your next raise, it turns into equity. And there's different ways that safe and debt to equity work. Convertible notes work. But you know, this is how most startups raise capital. And I'm going to put a big old asterisk on this because capital is really, really, really hard to raise right now. Interest rates are high. Banks are failing. The banks that are failing were the most risk-dependent banks in the deepest startups space period. So venture capital is very wary. Angel investors are very wary. Banks are very wary. It's a very tough time to raise money. So Key, Bear Bags, kudos to you guys for closing 20K, man. That is amazing right now. I mean, I know it's just an angel, but like that angel giving you 20K, given how expensive money is right now, investors were throwing money at any idea, like Catherine said, a year and a half ago. You could have an idea and you could close $200,000 because it was cheap to borrow money. You were putting it in high risk. Even if it failed, you weren't paying that much off of it. So now when money's expensive, it gets a lot tougher. So convertible notes. I don't want to confuse you guys too much. We'll talk about in the homework how these work, but essentially they invest a certain amount now at a certain future cap with a percentage discount. And when you do your next raise, that discount is applied. So then they get shares of your business at the cheaper price because they were willing to take the risk on you while you were still like just an idea. And there's a couple articles and a video we'll share with you. But what you all have to understand is you need to say over this amount of time, our company can make this amount of money and it can be profitable at this point. So that means we're at 0. We can be at 2 million in 2 years. We need to raise 50,000 now. We are going to do it against the 2 million we expect to be worth and either do another raise or it can just come due and you can just convert it into equity. It doesn't have to be against a raise, but some convertible notes and safes automatically trigger conversion.
I just want to jump in here and,
Yeah,
and
please.
validate anybody that's feeling I'm confused or whatever. That's legit. I'm not used to, I don't have this type of knowledge. So when I first heard this, I was really confused. And like the video that I sent Peter was because it was so simple. Even I understood this very clearly. And so that we're going to share it with you. And so don't worry. Like this is just giving you a broad overview and we're going to give you the resources on your own time. So this stuff will make sense.
And Carl's absolutely right. I was telling a story. I have a very close friend. He sold 2 businesses. We were in business together. We were raising money. We were in an investor meeting. We walked out of the meeting. He goes, I still don't get how this works. And I'm like, how am I in business with you? And I mean, he had already sold a business. He already sold a business for $300,000 and like $600,000 at this moment. And I'm like, and so like I had to figure out how to teach him, you know, how it works. So it sounds a little crazy. It kind of sounds like borrowing Peter to pay Paul, but it's sort of like safe documents were created by Y Combinator to make it easier for startups, pre-revenue idea startups to raise money in a safer way. And then convertible notes have been a pretty standard way to raise capital because if you do a price equity round, they all of a sudden have shares of your company. They have a say in your company. It becomes a whole thing, you know? And I think that video that you sent, Carl, really made that clear. And I liked how the guy said it, you know, except for when he said the investor is friendly. I was like, Steve, the friendly investor. I don't know that guy. So you're going to see some other things in some of the documents I'm giving you guys. And people will talk about TAM, SAM, SOM, and EBITDA. And these are all, if you've never heard them before, they're a little confusing. TAM means total addressable market. So I like to think about this as shoes. So everyone wears shoes. So the total addressable shoe market size is $2 billion. You're making women's shoes, right? So that serviceable market is, let's say, 56 million. I mean, it's way more than that, but just using this example. Your serviceable attainable market is you're making women's shoes in America. Your goal is to capture the American women's maybe dress shoe market. Maybe it's not even sports shoes, it's like high heels. So your serviceable market is the location you can sell to, which maybe you don't want to sell into Europe yet. You don't want to sell into Asia. You don't want to sell into South America or Africa. Your goal is to sell into the USA, dress shoes, And maybe you're even targeting more local. So you're going to say, I want to capture a portion of the serviceable, attainable market. And this is for, there's two ways you build models. You build them top down or bottom up. The way we've been teaching you is bottom up building. What is my cost of goods? How do I apply it to a cost of user, cost of sales or ads, and how does that then generate revenue? That's top up building. Top down building is saying, I can get this much of this market, and if I have this much of this market, my company's worth this amount. You're also going to see in a lot of financial forecasts, EBITDA, which I just fucking still think is the funniest word, but it is essentially how much money you make before you take everything out, before you take earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. So before you have to take out your spending on lawyers and this and that, it's like your top line gross earning. So you can see this is, I pulled this and we'll send you guys these decks as well. But I'm only saying this because you'll hear someone say to you in a pitch meeting or in a business meeting, like, what's your EBITDA? And if like, you'll be like, what language are you speaking, sir? Are you having a stroke?
Yep.
Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I just was going to say, and then you can just go, oh, you mean total revenue.
Yeah. Before anything is withdrawn. So we're looking at gross margin, revenue, cost of goods, how it grows. Show us something like this. Super simple. Give me a time and revenue graph against your idea. And that's about all I want to see. Because you already figured out your cost of goods or your acquisition costs or what you need. This is an example a student did for an ice cream company. So it was like, she knew she had monthly operating expenses. She knew she would have revenue, but her gross profits would be lower. She knew she needed $250,000. She was giving it for 10% of straight equity. She didn't want to do a convertible note. And this is what she was going to use the money for. So essentially what you guys, what one slide we're going to want to see is a basic financial model and how much your company's worth. So when you're finished, you're going to say, and over the next 3 years, by year 3, we're making, $600,000 a month, and we have a valuation of whatever X, and we're asking for right now $200,000 to get to that point at whatever valuation. So, and the homework has, it has a very, very good article on how debt to equity financing works, and the different forms of it you can use. A very basic article on how to actually do pre-revenue startups, like how to set a valuation. And then there's a very in-depth one that talks about SAM, TAM, EBITDA, all that, like different ways to model out your business. And once again, hopes and dreams. Everything's going to change. You don't know where you're going to spend money. You don't know how much you're going to make. You haven't launched anything yet. So you got to kind of just have something that you're talking about. So this is all on there. There's other versions on here for you guys to look at. But, next week or next session, when you present your deck, we're going to want to see a basic financial model, or basic financial slide along with some sort of ask and use of funds. Any questions? I'm going to stop sharing there.
So it's three things. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
My question is, when we research on the market share, we cannot find a very authorized data of the same market.
Cool. And that's fine. Yeah. You don't actually, that's top down. You're going bottom up anyways. You're saying if we have 8 events every month, we're profitable. Show me that. Show me that in the graph.
Okay.
We're profitable at this point. Once we go to 16 events a month, then we're really making money. Then we go to 24 events a month. Then we go to 48. And I'm like, hey, look at this up and to the right. They're making money. Their cost to run the business has stayed the same, and their profits have gone up.
Yeah. Yes. So here is my problem, because I kind of confused about what's the meaning of the market share, the size in the.
So I'm just sharing that. I'm just sharing that part with you. You can read that article that's in the homework. That is if you go top down. If you're going to say, you know, the market's this big, the market I can reach is this big, and I want to capture this much of it. It's a very old way, not old way, 15-year-old way of talking about it. We are a blank that does blank, and if we capture 10% of the market, we are billionaires. But I want you guys to go bottom up because it actually makes more sense.
Yeah. I also agree with the strategy from bottom to up.
Yeah, and the way you started, the way you showed earlier is exactly what I'm looking for. But show it to me in a nice graphic.
Okay,
Finn?
got it. Thank you.
So 3 deliverables is the graph, our value, our company value, and what was the third thing?
Estimated company value and how much money you need to raise.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Right on.
Anyone else?
Do you have any resources for like how to figure out finances for tech startups?
Everything I'm providing you has a ton on there, and that one actually is one of the easiest to figure out. If you Google, what can my tech startup be worth, you'll find a bazillion articles. It's harder to find how to like finance for a SOC company than it is tech startups now.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So do a little research, you'll be fine. All right. On to the fun stuff. Madison, this will be a repeat for you, but whatever. So now we get into the joy of the real meat of this, of what we're going to be doing. Hold on, let me put this somewhere. Of what we're going to be doing on what is it, Carl, the 21st, 22nd?
Sorry, we're on
22nd.
we're on April 22nd. Saturday is the final pitch, and the class before that is the 13th.
Yeah. So we are going to be looking at, you're going to be pitching, and pitching is, it's an art. So this is a deck that I've used. It was actually created, Taurus and I created it a while ago. And we used to teach this to people at private member clubs. But what is pitching? Pitching can be a lot of things, and it's really important to understand what you're pitching for. You're either pitching because you need an investor, you're pitching because you need a partner, you're pitching because maybe you want to get a grant. So you have to kind of understand what your target is when you're pitching. And pitching is very much performance art, especially like the way we're doing it. We're going to talk about pitch decks and we're going to talk about pitching today. But what we're asking you guys to do is stand up, present your idea with 10 to 12 slides, and give us a story of why your company has value and why we would want to invest in it. So the pitch deck needs to tell a story. This is really, really important because a lot of people stand up and they'll be like, they won't tell us exactly what they're doing right away because they don't see the forest through the trees. They'll just hit you with a lot of very technical information. So it's really important that you're thinking about this from a storytelling perspective. Humans connect to stories. The better you tell a story, the better people connect to it. So a good pitch is a simple, logical, and inspiring 12 to 15 slides. The goal of these decks are either to get yourself in front of investors. Sometimes you're building a deck and you're mailing it to someone. You want them to look at that deck and to make a decision whether they like you. So investors, they get a lot of decks. So most of them only spend 3 minutes per deck. And they're just kind of browsing it to see if there's anything that triggers they're like, they know what they're looking to invest in. Their job is to invest in companies. They want to find a good company to invest in, but they get so many decks that they're kind of browsing through it. And I'll say the same thing for anyone who's working on their portfolio to get a job. It's a very similar thing when you're job hunting. Because job hunting has I used to be a design director for a major company. We'd get 200 portfolios in 2 days when we'd open a job up. I would throw a whole bunch of out for just random reasons, too big, like too many pages. And then I'd go through and I'd zip through looking for certain things, looking for what I was targeting, So you want to be able to make a very compelling case that makes people connect, and they want to follow up with you. So one of the biggest things that I've seen and other people have seen is like, people will send me a deck and I'll have no idea what the value proposition is, what they're selling me for the first 3 or 4 pages. Sometimes people will come and talk to me and they'll be like, talking to me about a bunch of random stuff. And I'll be like, what do you need, man? I once had an investor tell me, I was pitching him a cannabis business and he looks at me, he goes, and I'm like talking through like the industry and he goes, Peter, land the plane. What the hell do you want from me? I was like, fair enough, dude. And this is like someone who's very nice and very kind to me. And you know, but he was also like, you don't need to tell me so much to just tell me you're building this company and you need to raise a little bit of dough. And I'm like, okay. So I want that, and Carl's going to work with you on this. I'm going to work with you on this. It has to be very clear what your product is, or what you're working on. You have to be confident in talking about it. We want to know what the fuck you're talking about quickly. And then we want to leave inspired. Like, I want to go and tell someone, hey, this person's working on this really cool thing. Maybe it's not for me to invest in. Maybe it's not my core business investing in this. Maybe I know someone. Maybe I'm so inspired by, you know, Esme. I don't invest in underwear, you know. I want to go with it. Yes, Carl.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say that when we say be confident about it, we don't mean like the stagey kind of confidence, like, you know, like I'm sure you've seen a lot of business people that they speak a little bit louder than they need to, and they just go like, hey, how are you? You know, we're not talking about stagey confidence. A real confidence is that you're actually excited to share the value that you're providing, right? So you're excited to share it and you're non-defensive, you're open, like that's a great question, you know, and even if the question throws you off, you respond by, let me think about that. That's really thoughtful, you know, and that's what we mean by, I just want to be super clear about that and because that's going to mitigate any concerns. Oh, I'm not a naturally like boisterous or confident person. The type of authentic confidence is much more like powerful than that kind of like bravado confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, you know, if you really know what you're selling, you should be excited to sell it. You should be excited to talk about it, you know, and that should give you confidence right there. You know, like whenever I pitch, I've been so excited about what I'm doing. I may speak too fast, but it's only because I'm excited, you know. This is a big one. This is for everything in life, man. This is for meeting new clients, meeting new customers, meeting new partners. Show up on time, you know, don't speak under your breath. Like, you know, you have an opportunity. You're in front of an investor, you're in front of a potential partner, you're in front of a potential someone who wants to hire you, you know. Show up on time, be dressed well, you know, this is a key to life, you know. So pitch decks, key ingredients, what are we gonna be looking for? Airbnb had a famous one that was 12 slides and they say they raised $5 million on it. I encourage you guys to go look it up. It's called Air Bed and Breakfast Pitch Deck. It's super simple and it's very matter of fact how they laid it out. And I think I've shared some of their slides in some of our other homework assignment. So what are we talking about? We're telling a story. We have something we're selling, and we have to be able to get to where we're successful selling it. So the important thing is to hit them with your story. Hit them with the story of why this is important. And focus on the product and what's important about it, whether it's physical goods, whether it's a service, whatever. And then give them your knowledge of the roadmap and cost to get to where it needs to be. So these can be moved around. Everyone does it a little differently, but generally it starts with an elevator pitch or a mission statement, and generally it ends with some sort of basic ask and contact information. Everything else can kind of be moved around inside of here. Some people like to have product, solution, market. Some people like to have problem, market, competition, value proposition. It's up to you. I like team sort of after the roadmap sometimes, but these are the basic slides that are in every good pitch deck. So as you guys know, mission statement, one-liner, you know, this should be short, sweet, simple. We've been working on them already. You're opening your deck with this. So tar form, you know, don't look at this side, don't look at the left side, look at the mission. Build a new breed of vehicles that awakens emotion through art, science, and ecology. It doesn't say motorcycle, it doesn't say electric, it doesn't say, it literally is a very broad sort of statement of like, we have a mission to do something bigger than just build another car, you know, build another your problem. So this is an important one. Like a lot of people like, they're like, well, I don't know what problem I'm solving for. And you know, I think actually all of you, when I look at what you're doing, you all have pretty good problems you're solving for. You know, but like it's understanding about like how you came to need this thing that you're creating. And this is an important thing. Like, if you don't need it, why would someone else need it? So like, you know, you can say, I experienced this and I realized this was a problem, you know, or I was my father, my uncle, my mom, you know, a friend, and sort of talking about how this problem came up. Or if it's just something where you're like, literally, I know this will make, I know this is a better product, or this is a better thing that the world needs, and here's why they need it, you know. This was for before Calm ever existed. This was an app that was supposed to focus on meditation, you know, for people that were living in a very fast life. So, you know, the whole simple statement of we need to spend more time, you know, focus on ourselves, you know. So the problem is we just run around all day long. Notice how simple it is though. It's not 10 paragraphs. So like if I'm going through this, I'm like, hey, where are they going with this? You know, Terraform, we were talking about that we have to lower our carbon footprint. It's just not sustainable how we're currently manufacturing things. Important to focus on your market. I like my market in front because I kind of like say, hey, there's a market for this. And I've researched it and I know where my customer is and I know sort of the opportunities. So, you know, one of the things we don't want to do is claim our market is everybody. It's one of the things that people make a big mistake doing, you know. And I say that, but then I also say, understand how big your market could be. So we'll start with your market. Your market, when you first start your MVP, should be very defined, who your user is, what it's for, and you're targeting them. But as you grow, you can start growing your market. So Casper's market is sleep. It's not mattresses, it's not pillows, it's like anything to do with sleep. So naturally that is everybody, but they make dog beds, you know? So it's an important thing to think about. Like it's important to know like your current market size, sort of the SOM market, and then sort of what the TAM market could be. Another big one, value proposition, you know? What I actually like to kind of go mission statement, market, value, problem, value proposition. That's my personal, like, and it all depends on the deck and who I'm pitching to and what the business is. But this is a big one, you know? So Terraform, we're ushering a new era of mobility. Our value proposition is we're building an electric motorcycle. We know that the world is burning carbon fuel, making unsustainable products, things designed to fail. We're building something that can be infinitely upgraded, designed to be heirloom quality, reused, saved, you know. The meditation app was, you know, be able to meditate and find healthier meditation practices, stress, anxiety, just from your phone, you know. Then when we start talking about like features, you know, what are the features? What are the things about your product that make it special? This comes into that Simon Sinek thing, you know, why is first, you know, how it's made is second, and what is the result? You know, why you know, how a product's made. Like you telling me as an investor that you know how to get something injection molded, you know how to get something sewn, you know how to get an app coded, whoop-de-frickin' do, so do I. Like, why do we need to injection mold something new? Why do we need to code something new? You know, like the how is less important now because most people you're going to talk to that you're going to do money understand how the how is going to work. You know, they probably will give you manufacturing. But this is back to the start with why. They want to buy what, you know, why you're doing something rather than what you believe, rather than like how and what it is. You know, if you convince them that this needs to be there and like there's this like need inside of you to bring this to market, and that's the most important thing. The how and the what are less important because how we can always figure out, and what is going to be what you hit them with next. What are the features? So we talk about features versus benefits. This is one that Tarasan used to always talk about because Apple was really good at sort of framing benefit and not talking about features. So when they would talk about a product, it was like a dual camera, a fast chip, a great battery life. And you're like, cool, that's what I need. Where like Samsung was like, look at all these crazy words that don't mean shit to your average person that's not technically savvy, that's trying to say that we have a good camera, we have a nice display, and we have a good battery. So, you know, benefits matter more to people than features. That's an important thing to remember, because you can put every call out and tagline and we're using this material, but in a 5-minute pitch conversation, I just want to know what benefits me about what you're selling me. Hit me with something that's going to attract me to say, I need that. I need that thing. And it's not telling me how it's made or what, you know, super details are in it, you know? So competitors, this is an important one. I also normally have my competitors and my market sort of closer together. But you know, everyone does it differently, as I said. So how do you fit in the landscape? What are your competitive advantages? What are your risks? Who are your competitors? This is from that Airbnb one. They said, you know, and this was 2008. This was, we're affordable and we're an online transaction. At this time, Hostels.com was online, Virbio was not online, you know, and they were saying, so we're more affordable, we're an online transaction. They're up and to the right, you know, that puts them outside of their competition, but they still said we have a lot of other competitors, you know. You know, I think Catherine said this really well. Like, you don't talk, and she's like, I didn't talk about my risks enough. I didn't say the things that like I was worried about, you know. And I think investors know that there's going to be risks in anything that's just coming to market. So being able to say, hey, you know, this could totally fail. Battery prices are going way up, you know. We may not be able to afford to build these things at the cost we're saying, but we, as of right now, our cost of goods is good, you know. Or, you know, I think this is the time where you could say, you know, I've never built an app before, but I know I can find people to do it, you know. And as an investor, they're betting on your idea. They're not betting on that you can't find someone to build it for you. You know, so then in your guys' cases, you know, talking about how you have a winning team, founder skill sets is important because, you know, in this slide, I don't have a version of it, but it's like usually 3 or 4 people, and, you know, each one has a different role, and it's how they're going to help this grow. You also, if you have advisors on your team, you can put your advisors there. This, I mean, every pitch deck is a living document. You're going to be updating it. Like, this is not like you do a pitch deck and you're done. It's like you do a pitch deck, you pitch it, you see how it goes, you go back and adjust, and so on and so forth. You send out 100, you get a couple responses, you go out and so forth. So, business model. How does the company make money? It's a big one. As an investor, I want to know, how are you going to make money? How am I going to get my money back? I'm not investing in you because I want you to be successful. I'm investing because I want a return on my investment. That's what investing is. So I need to know, how are you going to make money? What your pricing's like? What's your cost of goods? What's your margins? Do you have sales and distribution set up? How do you capture your customer? You know, what is your customer acquisition cost? This was a lemonade company. So as you can see, up and to the right, nice simple graph. Money's the first line, sales locations are the second, and distributors are the third. You know, 4-year period, growing from a $21,000 investment to $10 million in revenue. You know, where we're headed. This is really all I need. I don't need crazy financial models. If I want to invest in you, I'll tell you, a lot of really big time investors, they're not looking at your financial models. They're hiring they have a guy who is an expert, who's going to go and dig through your financial model. They're not going to be like, hey, send me your full financial model. I can't wait to dig through your spreadsheet. They're going to be like, I got a dude over at Deloitte who looks at these things for me. Send it over to him, you know? So that's the thing, like, you know, for the initial meeting, you know, hopes and dreams, you're taking a guess, right? So this is more if you're already in business. P&L is profit and loss, balance sheet, what you have in the bank. Your cash flow is how much you're making, and your cap table is how many investors you currently have. What is the capitalization of the company and who is involved with it? I would avoid these for your guys' presentation because I don't think any of you actually need to show this because it's not going to help you sell what you're doing. But this is a common thing to include in a deck. But as I said, you can have an addendum. You can have a second, more in-depth deck that has all of this in it too. You know, so if someone's interested, they're like, you got a deeper financial dive. You say, here you go, and you can have a page on each one.
So does that make sense, everyone? So what he's saying is you can have, if we're only having you do 12 slides for your actual pitch, you can have like 4 or 10 more at the ready. So if someone asks you a question, you're like, I'm glad you asked. And then you bring that up.
Yeah. And or normally it's like you send them first deck and someone's interested and they have a call with them and you chat and then they go, send me more information on what your current profit and loss is. You know, you start getting more into the in-depth. And that's when they're really sniffing around to invest. You know, that's a good thing. But you know, sometimes you don't want to give them everything right at once because it may shoot you in the foot. What did we just talk about? Key milestones, traction, strategy. So what is your roadmap to success? So Typeform, we've had a lot of press written about us. We had a milestone of form the company, validate the idea, go into product development and launch. And you can kind of see very well laid out. I mean, this was from 2001, but you know, we actually followed this pretty well, you know, from an old deck. What do you want from me? And this is an important one. I get to the end of decks, they're not asking for money, they're not asking for help, they're not asking for, I'm like, so why did I look at all this? You know, so having an ask is a really important thing. And that's where you have we need this amount of money. We are looking for partners to grow, you know, maybe dear creators, maybe you're not looking for money. Maybe you're saying, we're looking for creative partners to grow this business. You know, Karen, maybe you're saying, I'm looking for people to help me get exposure to help me fill my client list. Maybe it's that you're not raising dough. You know, like that's an important thing. Like sometimes you send decks out just to like company introduction decks. Hey, do you want to work with us? Hey, do you want to be a partner? You know? But if you are asking for money, what is the use of investment? And that was the sort of ask slide I showed you. I need $250,000 so I can build an app, test an MVP, you know, blah, 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 blah. So the most important thing, and Carl, I'll let him speak right after me on the whole thing, is you got to take them on a journey. You got to make them feel excited. This is superhuman. So as Carl said, like, no, like super, hey, you know, the more you can connect with them, the more they're likely to want to work with you. And, you know, this is the thing is like, adding too much info can just kill you. Like, first of all, if I receive a deck that's just super text heavy and lots of crazy graphs, my mind just kind of blanks out. Like, I want short, sweet, right to the point. Give me the most important information. Don't give me more than that. Don't claim you have no competitors. Don't try to solve every single problem with your MVP. Build an MVP and then solve that problem, and then go solve more problems as you grow your MVP. And our favorite one is, don't say you're going to get 1%, your company will be worth $1 billion. So about investors, you know, venture capital, which is what people always talk about, but right now, venture capital is hiding in their turtle shells, licking their wounds. Actually, they're not wounded. All the businesses they invested in are, and they're just kind of waiting to probably go and pick people up at pennies on the dollar. But they look at 5,000 pitches a year, 13 pitches a day. Their job is to find companies to work with. They're generally pretty good people, but once you bring them into your company, they can make you do things you don't want to do. And if you don't like it, they normally have rights because of the money they put in to knock you off your board. I've seen it happen in multiple times where they've had to kick founders off boards because the founders didn't align with what the venture capitals wanted. And you know, you can go watch the WeWork TV show with what's his name, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt Uber one, and these are all real things that happen. Important things about raising money is get an introduction if you can. So do research. Don't go to, if you're launching a CPG company, don't go to a tech VC, don't go to tech angel fund, don't go to a tech hedge fund. Go to people that are in the industry you're targeting, because they will be the best for you. It's called smart money. Dumb money, you know, if you need money desperately, dumb money is great, but dumb money doesn't help you grow the business. Smart money, investment and introductions can help you go way further. If you're going to go with an in venture capital, hedge fund, private equity offices, look at who they've invested in before. See if you align with those companies. Maybe partner with one of those companies will help you grow. And then you're going to hear a lot of no's. I mean, I don't even want to get into how, like, you better be very comfortable bombing and being told no. That's what the comedian was at the beginning. You are going to be told no over and over again. The best thing you can do is ask why and try to understand why they said no. And they'll say, oh, you're too early. Oh, you need proof of concept. But digging deep on that will help you so much. So pitch decks don't raise money. You do. And that's what we wanted to get you guys excited about. So, you know, and this is sort of everyone has different needs, but you guys are gonna have to work together to get there. So the homework, move this. The homework for this is the big pitch. We're gonna ask you guys to create a pitch deck, and on April 13th, they're gonna practice pitching it to us. This has a verbal pitch concept and a visual pitch. So you'll have a deck with slides, and then you'll have a verbal part. Don't read off your slides. You know, prepare your slides and be able to speak about what's on the slide while letting the slide stand for itself and you fill in the blank. And both presentations and the homework will go out, and you guys are going to be asked to sort of finish your deck, make it nice and beautiful, and then the next class, you each are going to get a pitch and get feedback from all of your peers in the class and Carl and I. And then that way, when you pitch live in front of the president of Pratt, and, you know, I'm gonna have Elon Musk there and Richard Branson and JD Rockefeller. No, I mean, that's the thing, is a little bit of practice never hurts. So I'll turn over to Carl now, because he actually is a coach for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I just want to ask people right now. So how many people have, yes, I want to actually just give a shout out to Peter. And I know that Peter, you're a very humble guy, but could you imagine, Peter, after we're on near 3 hours of sitting still with our attention span draining? Imagine if Peter was one of most people that just said everything with the same amount of time. So the exact same information. I want you to imagine Peter without the energy, without the emphasizing certain words and, you know, in vocal variety and all of that stuff, storytelling. Imagine that, how painful that would have been to sit through. So props to you, because the reason I'm not going out of my mind is because you have great, you know, storytelling, Peter. So props to you. That's the kind of stuff that we coach, right? So sometimes, did you notice we take a pause? We make variety. We have like substance. And so it's not just about getting the information across. It's also about connecting with people and being authentic, right? And so we can talk about that. And the other element that, so Peter did all the great stuff about the substance. Right now, I'm just talking briefly about how to make it more compelling, because you could do everything that Peter just went over really well, but then if you can't communicate it, you know, then people can tune out. And so that's the final step. That's where I want to help you with. I did professional acting, I did clinical psychology, I combined those things. And the final thing, there's a reason that Peter and I have now moved this to the final in person, because it's different than just like, you know, sitting at your desk right now and doing it. You could have your bullet points literally on the screen so people can't even tell that you're reading bullet points for your thing. When you actually get in front of people and you feel the physical energy, it's more pressure, but it's also more exciting, and it's an incredible growth opportunity for you. And so if you want to practice in person, just reach out to me. You can just shoot me an email. You have, my emails are always on the, you know, when O's sends out emails to you, it's always on there. Just hit me up and pick a time between 10 to 4, Monday through Friday. And we'll, like, you know, for a half-hour session or whatever you need, we can work on that in person. We can even see if the space is actually available, so you can be in the actual space, the actual podium that you're going to do it on. So I just want to give that invitation to all of you, so that not only can we go through your slides and the content, but if you actually want to run through the performative part, then, you know, I love doing that. I feel it's an art form. I enjoy helping with that. That's what Catherine was talking about. And she's amazing now. Like, I mean, that's the other thing. I was just so impressed with her. And she also talked for an hour and it was still compelling, you know? So I think that's a gift. And you guys are so smart. You're so talented. You're so hardworking. I want to also help you with that if you would like, you know? So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there because I want you to feel more comfortable. And I also want to give you a secret. People, even like wonderful performers like Peter or whatever, or like Catherine, they still are feeling uncomfortable when they do this. Okay. They still feel uncomfortable. It's just they're willing to tolerate it. They're like, all right, I'm uncomfortable and I'm going to keep going because I'm excited to share this information, because I care about the people that I'm talking to and I've learned how to do that. So those are the kind of the idea. It's kind of like an exercise. I run marathons and people say, oh, well, you're a marathon runner. It's easy. No, whenever I want to go for a run, I stare at my sneakers for a half hour sometimes. And I like think of every excuse in the book, but you still do it. Right. And so it's the same thing with this. It's not that one day you're not uncomfortable. That's fine. It's being able to tolerate that.
Yeah,
So-
I've been teaching for 10 years at Pratt, 10 years. And I am uncomfortable the first class every year. I have 3 classes. Me getting up and saying, hey, I'm Peter, and this is what I'm going to be teaching you guys. I am nervous to talk to my students because I don't know what they're going to think. They're going to be like, this guy's a crazy person. But like, and this is 10 years. The beginning of every semester, I'm like, here we go again. I'm going to have to just get over my nerves and get up there. And then it gets easier because you get to know each other and you get.
But that's a good thing because it
Yeah.
means you care. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you're just on autopilot. You're not phoning it in. And I think that, so what's interesting is that's a superpower. It's because you're empathetic. It's because you care that you feel uncomfortable. If you don't give a crap, like if you're with someone that you think like you don't give a crap about, you're not going to be nervous, right? And so it's channeling that and saying to yourself, hey, the reason I'm feeling this pressure is because I actually do care about what, you know, someone thinks. I do value them. And so then it's like, cool. So what is the best way that I can articulate that? And some of that's storytelling. And so a lot of that is like Peter touched on is problem solving. So presenting, this is why I'm excited to do this. This is my story that drove me to that. One of the most compelling things, which I had not heard. So with Catherine, just to give her as an example, she told me about the seaweed underwear and I was like, okay, cool, seaweed underwear, cool. Like definitely into sustainability. But when she told me the UTI track thing, you know, and that she was getting these and then suddenly this like helped it, I was like compelled. I'm like, whoa, that's really moving. Now the people that I care about, you know, I'm inspired to like even consider getting this. So I'm like, hey, now you don't have to deal with it. So it's that story, you know, that was really compelling and also vulnerable. Like it's cool. It's brave that she's just like talking about stuff that not everyone talks about. And, you know, that's also very admirable. So think about what is your personal connection? I want to know like the contraption that helps people that are like handicapped, you know, that's really awesome. And I would love to know, not but, say and whenever you can. If you want to say but, substitute and, it's a great thing. So, and I would also like to know, like, what was your inspiration? What do you have like a family member or a friend that like, you know, inspired you to create that? I love hearing that personal story of yours as well as the functionality of it. Okay. So that's my piece. I love this stuff and I'm excited to work with you so that you feel confident and can use these skills for other presentations as well beyond this pitch.
Yeah, and I have to actually jump. I actually have an investor dinner with some clients tonight. So good luck, guys. You can reach out to me anytime and I'll get back to you. Awesome job today. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
See you on the 13th. And in between, just shoot us an email. Bye, everybody.
Dude, thank you so much, guys. Have a
you.
great week and see you soon.
Everybody.
Yeah.